Yeah, next season looks so whack.
All right, good evening, sports fans. Welcome to the One Brain Cell podcast, where apparently next season looks so whack.
Winter anime list? Mm.
Is there any notable things on it?
Let me look real quick.
Yeah,
No, I have nothing added to
terrific.
my list. So,
Well, you can spend time with your family or, like, catch up on your backlog, like I'm gonna do.
yeah, I should catch up on the backlog. I have so many that I want to watch.
Yeah, I had this whole, like, intro planned where I was gonna, like, pretend we're doing a top 10, like, Buffalo Bills players list. But then, then you threw me for a loop with your winter anime sucks statement
Six is number one.
over Orange Juice Simpson,
Oh God, he's not even.
the man who did nothing wrong.
Let's not even go there.
Oh
Like,
yeah, a lot of people forget he was on the Buffalo Bills, including me.
yeah, and his crime was committed when he was on Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that was crazy. By the way, we're doing top 10 animes this week, but as per usual, we've diverted
Oh
from the
no.
usual course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
next season anime. Whack.
whack. That's okay. We're gonna talk about the top 10 anime of all time.
Well, we split two lists, right?
Two
Top
lists.
finish and top all time.
Yeah, because anime has the terrible habit of never finishing the story. So I had a lot of difficulty writing this list because a lot of my favorite animes had amazing season ones and then just like fell off the face of the earth into a giant train wreck. That's just my luck, I guess. I guess we'll do the finished list first
Finish list first.
because it's
Okay.
more restrictive. And then the second list will be just like anything, movies, ongoing series, etc.
Okay.
So what is Anna's number 10?
Number 10.
Number 10. Yeah, we're going to go up so it increases the excitement and the
I'm looking
tension.
at this list. I'm looking at this list again. I'm like, I don't know if I ranked them
Oh,
the way.
oh no. What do you mean? I mean, you could do an audible.
No. Okay. At the moment in time when I made this list, the top, like number 10 for
Okay,
finish
this is like
anime.
a quantum list. Okay, at that number 10 at this particular instant in time,
Samurai Champloo.
Samurai Champloo.
Have you ever heard
Is
of it?
this how you spell it?
What do you? Yeah.
I haven't watched it. I heard very good things about it. A lot of my friends who are like more classic anime fans really like it, but I have not watched it
Okay.
yet.
So
Is this how you spell it though?
yeah,
Oh, perfect.
Champloo.
Oh shit, that was a guess. Hell yeah. All right, yeah. What is it about?
So, well, first of all, I cannot pronounce things right, so I'm gonna pronounce it as phonetically right in my brain as possible. Anyways,
Sounds right
it's
to me.
it was an anime that came out in 2004. Like, I feel like everyone always compares it to Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, it was like around the same time, right?
I think it wasn't it almost the same creator.
It seems very similar in my brain, but I'm not sure.
Anyways, if it is, then I got it right. If it's not, people delete that from your brain. I said a wrong thing.
We
Anyway,
researched this video heavily, as you can tell by the professional presentation as well.
but why I liked it so much when I watched it. One, the opening was so good. It's got like the vibes of hip hop. It has like the animation gives me like a mix between Cowboy Bebop and Boondocks.
Boondocks, like
Yeah,
the comedy.
Boondocks. Yeah.
Well, I think Boondocks was heavily influenced by Samurai Champloo, right? Like it seemed
Was
that way at
it?
least. Yeah, because they literally had samurai fights in it that like seemed like straight up from that anime.
Maybe. But I know Boondocks is made by Korean studio.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, a lot of influence, but okay, so mix of the Boondocks and
All right,
and
that's like
Cowboy
the
Bebop. The
the
animation.
animation. Yeah.
Okay.
The animation gave me that like that type of vibe because I was like it was just something in like the way people were drawn was giving me that.
I can see that.
And then like they had like such a good opening. Like I don't really listen to openings and like I only remember so few openings and ending credit songs and
You're
things like
crazy.
that.
They're like the best part.
Not all the time,
You are my
okay?
special.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways.
This one, it was memorable because it like you don't hear hip hop being used a lot, and it was like one of those
Hmm.
rare occasions that you hear hip hop being used. And also like the whole vibe of it was so unique in a sense, like how Cowboy Bebop was kind of unique. You know, it's
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop had that noir feel, but it's also action adventure and everything like that. And then this is also not noir, but it's also action adventure, but then the basis of it is like historical with samurai. And it's 2004, you got an anime that's willing to show violence and profanity and things like that. That's always a plus.
And you watched this as a kid?
No, I watched it when I was a little older.
Okay. Old enough to use curse words?
I was always old enough to use curse
Oh
words,
my
okay?
god.
But let's see. The synopsis on my anime list say Fu is a young and clumsy waitress who spends her days peacefully working in a small tea house. That is, until she accidentally spills a drink all over one of her customers,
Oh
with a
my
group
god.
of samurai now incestually harassing her. Fu desperately calls upon another samurai.
Why are we having you do the reading? Incessantly.
And says, Mugen, who quickly defeats them with his wild fighting technique, utilizing movement reminiscent to that of breakdancing.
Oh shit. Damn, why haven't I seen this show?
I don't know, man. And then it continues. Unfortunately, Mugen decided to pick a fight with an unwilling Ronin Jin, who wields a more precise and traditional style of sword fighting, and to the latter proves to be a formidable opponent. The only problem is they end up destroying the entire shop, as well as accidentally killing the local magistrate's son.
This is a long ass synopsis.
No, it's not. It's just me taking really long time to read it.
Oh.
And then, so, for their crime, the two samurais are captured and set to be executed. However, they are rescued by Fu, who hires the duo as her bodyguard. Though she no longer has a place to return to, the former waitress wishes to find a certain samurai who smells like sunflower, and enlists the help of the two new exonerated pair to do so. Despite initially disapproving of this idea, the two eventually agree to assist the girl on her quest. Thus, the trio embark upon the adventure to find the mysterious warrior that is, if Fu can keep up with Mugen and Jin from killing each other.
Wow. Do they find them? Well, I guess you shouldn't say spoilers, but
I mean, if you haven't watched this yet, it's been out for like a while now.
yes, but
Almost 20 years.
say 40 years?
20!
Okay, I almost had a heart attack. It's like, oh boy, I'm not ready for that revelation.
I think it's a very good anime because one, it's one season. That's it. There's no
Like 20
dragging.
something episodes?
26 episode. There's
Oh,
no
okay.
dragging. Yeah, there's no dragging about what is happening a lot. And like you only focus on 3 characters the entire time. There's not like a
Okay.
multitude. Yeah, there's no multitude of characters that you're trying to understand like what their motive, what their like character growth is, and everything. Like you just focus on these 3 characters this entire journey, and like you do get to learn about them like a little bit moving forward because it's because there's only 3 of them to really focus on, and it has like its comedy moments that I really really like.
Okay,
Like
so
they
not all business.
yeah, because they act silly all the time. You got 2 people who want to kill each other because they think they're formidable opponents against each other.
Right.
So and then you have this girl who's just trying to stop them from fighting all the time, and it's like entertaining to watch because it's like shenanigans.
Yeah, it feels like a mini Straw Hat Pirate Crew.
That's what I was thinking too. I was thinking like if it's like literally putting Nami in between, and then you have Zoro and Sanji fighting against each other.
God. Okay, I could see that would be fun.
Yeah, I think it's such a good low key anime that not a lot of people know about. Like it's like if you like watch anime from way back when, then you probably would know about it. But
Mhm.
not a lot of people know about this anime because I think it got overshadowed by
Got
Cowboy
overshadowed
Bebop.
by a lot. Yeah, because I remember like, I recognize it by name. Like I know like it's highly regarded, but like whenever the conversation would come about to Samurai Champloo, it would kind of move quickly moved to like Cowboy Bebop or other anime of that time as well, like Rurouni Kenshin, whatever else.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly such an upset because I feel like it has so much to offer. But like other things that it was going up against during that in like the spring 2004 season, you have Monster on the list
Ooh,
as well,
ooh.
which is yeah, I agree. Monster is like a very good
I'm
um
currently
slow
watching
burn.
that.
Aren't you you're still watching it?
Yes, it's a slow burn. It's slow.
But I think like Monster would probably be like the only one I would say is like its competitor at that time.
Like in terms of quality.
Well, One Piece obviously because One Piece is just
One
still
Piece is everyone's competitor.
Oh, it also was competing against Detective Conan, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Fullmetal Alchemist, Naruto, Inuyasha.
Yu Hakusho.
No, uh, Prince of Tennis, um, Chrono Crusade. It's like it was also competing Yu-Gi-Oh. So like it had like a lot of competition for an anime who is like coming onto the scene, and then you
Mm.
have to fight against like not only like I guess the big three at the time because I don't see Bleach on this list.
Yeah, that was definitely like one of the like huge eras of anime where there
Hmm.
was just a lot being presented to you and a lot of it was good. So I guess that's how it got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, that's why I saw. That's how I felt too. Like it got lost in the shuffle because it literally had like a lot of like already standalone competition. The ones
Hmm.
that had like already established themselves pretty much.
You know, I think like when I was watching like Toonami or whatever showed anime, I
Mhm.
think it was always on like really late at night, so that's why I never got to see it.
It makes sense, right? Because it's got violence and
Yeah,
profanity
yeah.
and sex.
Wouldn't no. Between who?
There was a prostitute. I will just say that.
Oh, that was not going to be my guess. I was thinking it would be rivals to lovers between the two samurai. I don't know.
This ain't Brokeback Mountain.
I don't know. People like rivals to lovers.
This ain't Brokeback Mountain.
Maybe next time it will be.
Nah.
All right. So should we like do like alternating? Like, should I do my 10 now, or do you want to do like your 10 all at one go?
No, do your 10. Do your number 10.
All right, my number 10 of finished anime of all time, Death Note.
No!
Listen, I tried very hard to think of an anime to be in the number 10 slot instead of Death Note, but I couldn't. Like everything else had like a more consistent quality, but like not nearly as high highs as Death Note.
Okay, but are we doing this Death Note? I guess we have to, right? We have to do Death Note in its entirety, not like
Yes,
just the
I'm
first.
including Death Note in its entirety. I think the height of the first half carries the second half to a very good score still. Like, it was that good in my mind.
Okay,
Like,
okay. If these people don't know what Death Note is, I don't know what else to say.
I mean, you can give them a quick synopsis of Death Note if you want.
This guy found a book and he writes people's name in it to kill them. And there's this angel demon thingy that likes apples.
Yeah, alright, well, that's it. No, well, the first half is kind of like a rivalry between a cat and mouse game between him and like the most brilliant detective ever kind of thing, where Light Yagami is this kid who found the book who wants to enact justice using the book to kill like criminals who he thinks shouldn't be, kept alive, like using resources and like, people who are just bad. He wants to get rid of them, and some people have an issue with that approach, but Light thinks that he's correct and that he is smarter than everyone else, so he gets humbled very much in the beginning by L, who's the rival, who's this like brilliant detective. And for a while it's L kind of circling Light Yagami into a chokehold, getting him into a trap, making him unexcusably, like unquestionably, like guilty of being Kira, who is the police's name for the killer. And the drama and the tension and like the music and everything in the first half produces such an intense like suspense thriller that I personally don't think has been replicated in anime since, at least ones that I've seen. So for that reason, I'm putting it in my number 10, just and then the second half is a
It's
a
disregarded.
huge departure from the first half. It loses a lot of that steam, and it kind of just like limps over the finish line, but it does get there. So all in all, like the first half is so strong that it carries the second half, where I can say like if it was just the first half, this would be much higher on the list. But all in all, it's still for me, and I'm like a less experienced anime watcher, so I don't have as many anime. But Death Note is still a top 10 for completed anime, in my opinion.
I mean, that's fair. I do agree the first half does carry the second half by a lot, but do I think like the second half could have been shortened? Probably to be like less draggy, I guess.
Oh, I'm with you.
I
No
mean,
complaints here.
like, because I feel like we all knew what the end goal or what the ending was gonna be, regardless. It's just a matter of
Yeah,
how they're gonna approach it, right? And I was thinking like this kind of like it just like felt like it went off the rails on the second season because it felt like I don't know. Do you feel like it was like Light's character like completely derailed?
I think everything about it completely derailed, to be honest. I feel like the writer was like, oh shit, I have to write like twice as many chapters as I intended. So he just kind of started like YOLOing it. And then like it reached the same conclusion it was going to, but like it took such a weird rocky road to get there that
So do
it
you
almost doesn't feel like real. That kind of helps me in like my assessment, is that the second half almost feels like a parody of the first half.
so do you think that is pretty much why when he made that new anime, it just was like so far gone for us we just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it almost feels like Death Note season 1 was a huge flash in the pan for the mangaka, because yeah, his most recent anime, which I forget the name of, it has like it's like a death game, like battle royale type thing with angels. But it feels much more closely resembling the second half of Death Note than the first half.
Let's just say that
Yeah.
is legit freaking future diaries instead of cell phones, it's angels that they're using.
Yeah, no, exactly. Except even worse than Future Diary.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the magic touch that he had for the first half of Death Note was gone, but that magic touch was real good, and that's why they still talk about this and make it like stuff about this to this day, like that movie that everyone loves.
Oh gosh, I don't even remember that movie. I don't think I ever watched it because I
I never
refused to.
watched it.
No, you know what's good that Death Note came out with? Their openings are good.
There, though, Death Note openings is great. Death Note's sound design in general was like amazing. Like the presentation and the adaptation, every like production quality thing for Death Note was great. Like way ahead of
Exactly.
its time.
I I totally agree. I like when are you ever gonna hear like death metal rock in an opening? Never.
Yeah, and it makes sense that the death metal rock was at the time where like the show was completely off the rails, and the song itself was like an off the rails crazy schizophrenic nightmare. So it very
Yeah.
much reflected reality.
Yep. It was a great time. 10 out of 10. We'll listen to again.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone knows Death Note, and like your opinion about it, whether the first half is enough to salvage the second. So
Yeah.
that's kind of all I have to say on it. It was like, this was the hardest decision I had to make on either of these lists, and I feel okay about it now. I've kind of come to terms with like, Death Note. I guess it's a top 10 anime for me.
Maybe we just need to find you like better horror or better
Yeah,
what is the genre like?
it's like a
Horror?
suspense, a thriller.
Well, you're watching Monster now, so I feel
I'm
like
watching Monster. I'm watching Pluto. Finishing Assassination's Classroom. So
that's comedy.
yeah, no, it has some like suspense to it. It has some action.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
Yeah. Well, the point is, making this list and seeing how hard it was for me to find 10 anime that I actually liked enough to put on the list has shown me that in this coming year, 2024, I need to actively start watching more anime. Because I fell off the train for a while.
It's okay. Now you're back on it.
Now I'm back. Choo choo, motherfuckers. Let's go. All right, Anna, what is your number 9 pick?
I feel like you have this on your list. I just don't know where it is.
It's possible.
Fate Zero.
Yes, yes, ma'am. That is on my list.
What number is it for you?
It's a spoiler.
What do you mean it's a spoiler?
Right?
Okay, fine. Don't
Yeah.
say it.
You'll find out soon enough.
But I guess how do you explain Fate to people who's never watched Fate?
I
And
think
then, like-
I think you have to explain Fate in segments. You don't explain the series. You explain Fate Zero in particular, because it is a self-contained story. It's just part of a series that is like MCU multiverse levels of convoluted that it's not even worth watching. If you really want to know, watch Gigik is the one who made the video, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, watch Gigik's video on the Fate series. I never made it through the video, but Anna says it's really good.
It is, was because he does like do a very good explanation of it. But I do agree. It's like it's the MCU before MCU was MCU. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people who knew about Fate understood the dedication and time to really have to like understand and put through to like get through the entirety of the universe and understanding like the different like branch off timelines and all this jazz and stuff. And if you're like, I think like what he said the best was like, you don't have to watch all these extra shit. They're just like bonus. But like there is like pretty much a main timeline that you go through and that you pretty much watch if you want to know like the like basics of Fate, like the Fate series.
Yeah.
But like so Fate itself was actually a visual novel before it became an actual anime, right?
Right.
And like the original, so Fate Zero is not the first one that came out for the Fate series. It was Fate Stay Night.
Fate Stay Night was the OG.
Yeah, that came out for the original series, and Fate Stay Night is one of the branch offs in terms of timelines that you can go
How
through.
is the original of one of the branches?
Because Fate Zero is the prequel to it.
So Fate Zero is the progenitor. It's the first. It is the origin point. Is that correct?
Yeah, in time, like in chronological timeline, it is Fate Zero is the first one you start with, and then from Fate Zero you branch off into 3 different timelines.
Or you can just stop at Fate Zero and be happy like me.
Or you can stop at Fate Zero and maybe watch Unlimited Blaze Work.
Unlimited Blaze Works was good, but
if you want some nostalgia, I guess Fate Stay Night. If you want to be really weird, then okay. Then you could okay.
Well, no,
right.
tell the weirdos what they should watch.
All right, Heaven's Feel. That's the 3rd timeline.
Not me.
I had to watch it just so I know what the timeline entails, but then after I watched it, I was like, well, this is fucking weird, and I want to erase it out of my brain now.
Yeah, why are you, like, committing so much to understanding this timeline?
Because I'm like, I need to understand everything to make my final judgment. It's the same way how in video games, I'm a completionist. I just need the entire story. I hate the idea of having a very partial opinion about something.
Yeah, you're like Brainiac. You just consume all knowledge of a thing. You can't just be happy with a like partial story.
But basically the premise to all Fate stories, like all Fate stories are pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
Because it talks about the Holy Grail War that happens always in Japan, I think it is.
Yeah, the center of the world, yeah.
Because Japan is the center of the world. But like the whole point is that you have these different mages family or mages in general that has
magic is real, mages exist.
Yes. And they always like right during the war begins, there's like 10 mages, I believe.
It might be 10. That sounds right to me.
Yeah, I can't remember the number of mages, but usually there's like I think 10, and then they each pretty much will summon somebody, whether it's mythological, historical, whatever. They summon someone from the past, and then they become what are they called?
It's not like a guardian, but it's something similar.
Yeah, they're not called guardians, but they're
like become their fighting force.
Yeah, pretty much. They become their Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean literally.
Oh, so sorry. There's six participants, I believe. Or no, there's.
It might vary between wars. Like there's.
Maybe it varies.
There's a bunch of different wars.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a bunch. I'm like butchering this description now, but there's a bunch of different wars, and then there's a bunch of different mages for different reasons as to why they're participating in it. Because the whole point is that when the last and final winner, or the last standing person, is the winner, and they get to use the Holy Grail that can typically grant you anything you wish for.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. So everyone has their own intentions, and then when they summon with the artifact that they have for the person that they're going to summon, right?
Well, what do they summon?
So they'd summon different classes. Like if we ever play video games, fantasy video games, or like role-playing video games in general, then we know classes of like characters, right?
Yeah.
So you have those like a saber swordsman class, you have a rider class who is like usually typically on horse or something. You have an assassin class, you have a mage class, you have an archer,
yeah,
and then you have what's this?
Berserker is one of
Berserker.
them.
Yeah, Berserker.
Yeah. I don't remember what the spearman's
Lancers. So that's 7. Is that 7? Is that it?
Something like that. There's a bunch. But
yeah, but like typically you summon these different types of classes, and then like I think it's like it's not too much of a roulette because you're literally using an artifact item of like the character or the person that you want to summon, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then, but then there can only. But the thing is, I believe that there's a rule of like whatever you summon, like that class is like that's it. You can't. Then another person can't summon another saber. You know what I mean?
It's kind of first come, first serve, and like a lot of these like summoning scrolls or whatever it might be, like kind of pass on through like clans and lineage and stuff.
Yeah, because they always want to save like obviously the top, because they come in like on top of like the fact that they're like Pokemons, they're literally like Pokemons or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever you want to call them, because there's like they're tiered.
Advantage.
Yes, they're tiered.
Yeah, but you forget the most interesting part, that all of these, the pool of people that you select from are all either mythical or legendary warriors of some kind. No, you didn't say it yet.
I literally said they summon people from the past, whether they're like historical or mythical.
Okay, that could be, and so no one's gonna summon Margaret Thatcher. She's historical.
But no, of course no one's gonna summon Margaret Thatcher.
Well, you make it sound like it could be anybody. No.
No, you knew what I mean.
Well, give some examples.
Okay, all right. Obviously,
Margaret Thatcher.
Any Fate person would know Saber is a freaking classic. And Saber, I mean...
Well, Saber is King Arthur.
Exactly, but Saber is a girl King Arthur.
Yeah, as originally intended.
Sure. I think another well-known character is Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh, yeah. Reoccurring character.
I don't know what class he was summoned to. I think he was
Archer in one of the wars. I forget.
He's Archer in 0.
Yeah. I forget what he is in the other ones.
He was God.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Who else is another good character?
I think Morgan Le Fay's in one of them.
That's the newer one.
Yeah. But like...
Because she looks exactly like Saber, but we all know the lore before. Wait.
Cuchulainn is in one of them.
What the fuck is Cuchulainn?
He's like one of Ireland's most famous dudes ever. He was one of the Lancers.
What?
I don't know. He was in one. I think he was in Fate's Stay Night.
Who's another good character? Ryder in Fate's Stay, who is Alexander the Great.
Yeah, okay.
Great character.
Well, there's a lot, but is this the only Fate show on your list?
Yes, it is.
So what do you think makes this higher than all the other Fate shows?
I think the cast of characters is a lot more interesting in my opinion. Okay, if I haven't said it yet, I'm gonna say this again, because in my head I feel like I've repeated this multiple times, how I do not care for romance shit in anime at all.
Okay.
I know I watch romance anime, but I watch romance anime with the intent for the romance. I don't watch an action show or anything of that nature for the intent of romance to be a very driving plot. You know what I mean? And I feel like with Zero, the intent literally is to win this fucking war for like...
Ain't no romance in this shit.
I mean, I guess there's a little bit because, the dude...
A little bit, but then he's like, yo, man, I gotta win this war and I'm gonna use you as a sacrifice, maybe. We'll see.
But like there is a little bit, but I think it does have like its intent because it does like play into the three splitting timelines pretty
Hmm.
much. And then but the other thing is that like the three splitting timeline, the focus is on one dude with different girls who are kind of sort of like he's having his little harem is what I'm trying to say. And then the timeline is split because depending on like who he kind of like goes pretty much for in this harem.
Right, because that's how like the visual novel goes, right?
Yeah, that's how the visual novel goes. And then that's why I'm just kind of like, I don't like this. I don't care for this. I don't need a story driven by love because this is not what I came for.
I don't think it's about love. I think it's about the power of horniness.
That too. I just want to be PG about it and say love, but okay, we'll go there.
I wish it would they stayed PG about it.
Well, they don't, because
They don't.
yeah, no.
But Fate
But, like,
Zero is okay.
yeah, Phase Zero I like very much because one, you have very like I think you and I agree that the scene when Saber fights against Lancelot, that animation was like fucking chef's kisses for like the early 2010s.
Well, this was Ufotable's first like claim to fame because now they're known for Demon Slayer and they're really good animation there. This was like the first major product they made, and it raised them
Yeah.
to stardom because the animation was so good for its time, and it's still good now.
Yes, and they also did Unlimited Blaze work, which is why I also
Yes.
like Unlimited Blaze work as well because the animation quality that they put into it was so good. Like it's undeniably good for like what its time was.
Oh yeah, Fate Zero, incredible, incredible show, which I will talk about again because it's going to be on my list as well. So I don't know
As
if
it should be.
do you have anything else you want to say about it for now?
I think that's pretty much it. Cause I think like, you know, us talking about it is one thing, but I definitely think it's like one of those animes I believe people should watch. It's
Yeah.
in terms of like animation, I think it's peak, but in terms of storyline, it's hella interesting because like you just like talk about all these like different character and like I think the other thing is like remember how in the previous one I was saying like in Champloo like I was saying oh you just focus on three characters this entire time but then like I think they do such a good job in like the short amount of time that they do have which is only 2 seasons
Yeah.
just like hashing out like important details about these characters
Oh,
like
absolutely. Yeah, you kind of understand all of their motivations for being in the war, all the reasonings behind their actions during the war. It's like very effective storytelling.
yeah like that's I think that's why I like it so much because I'm like it's very like concise but but it does enough for you to like still be engaged as to like why is this person doing this or why is this summon doing this you know because like
Hmm.
even the summons themselves have intentions they're not doing this shit because willy-nilly to like fight for someone else no they purposely I think are like contracted
Yes.
when they die that to be a part of the summoning like group of people pretty much
Yeah, and they all have like their code of honor that they follow, some more than others. Some find things certainly acceptable more than others.
yeah
And so you say like you never really have to ask why, and I agree with that. Although I have a funny story about that. When I originally watched, I accidentally skipped over an episode where a major character dies.
oh my
So
goodness
at the end of the show, I was messaging my friend at the time, and I was like, "This show was really good, but whatever happened to this guy? Like, what the fuck?" And he was like, "What do you mean? There was a whole episode about it." And I was like, "No, they just never mentioned them again." And then it turns out I missed a very pivotal episode.
oh my goodness
But
who was wait quick question
yes,
oh I was looking up the characters of the summons and I was like trying to remember who are certain characters
mm-hmm.
they had Jack the Ripper and I thought they redid and I don't it's not in Zero but in like one of the series in one of the Fates series they had Jack the Ripper and I thought it was such an interesting take on
What class was he?
I think Jack the Ripper was a caster was he a caster or was he an
Interesting.
assassin hold on
Interesting.
no that's what I'm saying like Fate does a very interesting twist on their characters
Mm-hmm.
where they like gender bend them or and the way they like decide to like make these certain characters are so different. Yeah, so Jack the Ripper is assassin class.
Okay.
And it's a she, not a dude, but she
Uh-huh.
shows up in the two of the side,
Oh, two of them.
like
Okay.
branch off, yeah. Not part of the main line.
Yeah, this is like if you like kind of like alternate history fiction, I feel like this series kind of scratches a certain itch for you as well. Like it has that aspect to it, which is cool.
Yeah. Who is Berserker again?
In Zero it was Lancelot.
Oh, and the
Although-
main and Unlimited, it was Hercules.
Yes.
See, those are like great characters
Goated.
because they're like they have like if you ever understand the lore between Lancelot and Hercules, like you understand why they kind of fit into the Berserker class
Mhm.
to begin with, and I'm like, but like they do touch upon it in the show itself
Yeah,
as
they,
to
they
like
touch upon it just enough that if you're not familiar, then you get caught up, and if you are familiar, you're like, oh, that's fucking cool.
yeah, exactly, and I'm like, man, people don't understand, or maybe they're just too scared to understand
They're too
Zero.
scared.
Or they're just too understand to start Fate, honestly.
Don't be
'cause-
afraid of Fate Zero. You can watch Fate Zero and you can leave and never come back, and you can be happy like me. You don't have to
No.
watch it all.
I agree. You don't have to watch it all. You don't have to be like me, who's a psychopath who has to watch it all. But like, if you do, like, it's not a terrible ride as long as you stay in the roller coaster car.
Yes. Yeah, keep your hands inside of the vehicle at all times. Do not stray from the path.
Exactly.
Okay, are we ready for my number 9?
Yes.
So this might be on one of your lists. I'm curious to see. It
Go.
is Attack on Titan, another very popular anime that probably everyone has heard of. What are you doing?
Ironically, I'm looking at my list. I
Oh.
have it in my book. Ironically, it's not.
That's crazy because I talked to you like when it ended and you were much more high on it than I was.
But like that's why I say like when I'm looking at this list right now, I'm like, oh shit. Like I made a
Oh.
big list. I made a big template master list, and then I literally separated the ones who are current, ongoing, and then the finished ones. And then
Uh-huh.
from there, I had to like slowly try to weed out every single one of them, and kind of explain to myself in my head like, why not this or over this, and like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could agree. Like, if it's an honorable mention, like it did make it to like my top 15, but I weeded it out eventually.
Yeah. So I think top 15 is more accurate for Attack on Titan for me as well, but since this is like finished anime and this one happened to have just finished, you know, it kind of fits in this slot. I definitely rate it higher than Death Note on both its personal impact and kind of its overall quality. Like I feel like it did dip at times in the middle, but it didn't dip nearly as much as Death Note, and then it kind of came back to a nice place. I think season 1 was still like the ultimate cool show for me. Like it was so cool. There was so much intrigue. There was a lot of suspense. There was a lot of stakes because at that time characters were dying left and right. So you didn't know who was safe.
Right.
You didn't know who was safe at all.
They
And
still died.
they still die, but like there is a bit of plot armor that develops.
Yeah.
So like certain characters, you know, like they're gonna be okay. But like at the beginning, like the main character wasn't safe, nobody was safe, and like it was kind of a threat that you never, at least for me, I've never seen something like that. Like the image of the Titans just being giant, like deformed creatures who like the most crazy steampunk weapons could just barely like fend off. It was created a lot of like tension and like fear, which is, you know, I like when things can make me feel emotions genuinely. So genuine fear is like super high up there for me. So that's why like it was very good in the beginning. And then it kind of delved into more like political and like social implications, and for the most part those were good. It kind of got bogged down with like its own lore and history for me.
Yeah. No, I very much agree with you. Like, it's funny because when I made this list, I didn't go on to like my anime list and I looked at my rankings. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know how you can grade all your animes that you ever watched? I didn't do it by that. I just did it based on like how well I remember an anime and like what kind of what kind of emotions and what kind of like thought I
Yeah.
had about it when I watched it, right? Attack on Titan was definitely one of those where I was like, great, like I agree, great first season, but then like it got so tiresome
Mm-hmm.
of like season 2, and then I just skipped the anime altogether and just went on to the manga.
Yeah, so we
And
did the
even
similar thing with that because I did the same.
yeah, but like I feel like even with the manga, I had like such a hard time like wrapping my mind around it because it was just so like text heavy.
Yeah.
And then there was just like a lot of things going on, and sometimes I didn't know whose blurb like word blurb I was reading. Like I'm like, who
Yeah.
does this blurb belong to? I was so confused. Not to say that it doesn't deserve a high like ranking, and not to say it doesn't deserve like to be recognized and known as a pivotal anime in our generation, because I do believe that like you even said it yourself, it was your gateway anime pretty much.
Yeah.
And
I didn't
yeah, and
I didn't know what anime was until Attack on Titan, legit.
like I think that's a very like it's probably one of the like one of the more influential animes of our time too. So this is
Yeah.
why we had to just talk about the list of like criteria beforehand when we were like saying, are we
Yeah.
talking about influential or are we just talking about like how we feel pretty much, right?
Yeah. Influential I feel like is too easy. Like I feel like it's much because this kind of reveals who we are as people more, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
what makes us feel stronger emotions, what sticks with us longer.
yeah. I very much agree. But I do think like, you know, AOT still a top in my head, but not top.
Yeah, like I was kind of like the same. I fell off. I came back once like a twist with like Aaron, the main character's like, you know, character arc happens, and then I kind of like held on for the ride for the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And the ending is, you know, leaves something to be desired for me. And I mean, we've talked about this on length. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but
Yeah, we
yeah.
did.
Yeah, okay, so we did. So yeah. Oh yeah, we did a whole fucking episode. What am I thinking? Yeah. But so if you want more of our thoughts on that, you can watch that. And yeah, good show. Yeah, show it
Yeah,
to
I
your
mean,
friends if you want to spook them.
Attack on Titan is so big in this like day and age. Like if you didn't hear about it, it's kind of like where were you living under a rock kind of thing,
Yeah,
you know?
it's true. Everyone knows Attack on Titan.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Not, I feel like my list is like my top finish list when I'm looking at it right now. I don't feel like a lot of people would like know some of these animes that I'm like talking about.
I mean,
Is
well,
there
that's great. You know, you can expose them.
good? All right, my next one is
Uh-huh.
gonna be Steins Gate.
Steins Gate. That's a good one.
Do you have that on your list?
Of course I do.
Oh, so it's a higher up for you probably.
Yeah.
Got it. So, for those who don't know, Steins Gate is probably the most well done piece of media that talks about time travel.
That's
Like,
actually true. Yeah.
it's like, I know nowadays we do time travel all the time. Like,
All
recently,
the time.
like Loki just recently kind of like Loki 2 recently dipped into time traveling pretty much. But his form of time traveling is like obviously different. But like, you know, media nowadays, they're like dabbling into time travel a lot. Like, what was the most recent thing that we watched?
Was it Bodies?
Bodies on Netflix talked about time travel. Dark on Netflix talked
Dark.
about time travel.
Mm-hmm. Russian Doll about time travel.
Endgame.
Endgame, of course. Flash, everything does time travel.
Yeah, everyone talks about time travel, but I don't think anyone talks about time travel or does time travel in a way Steins Gate has done it. And basically the premise is like you got this like really awkward kooky scientist dude, right? And he's like pretty much just the best way I can explain it is like it seems like he's in his little made up world about who he is and stuff like that. He felt like in the very beginning he felt very much like the Don Quisto type of feel, like, you know, a guy who's like just imagining things because he was like
Don Quixote?
yeah, Don Quixote.
Don Quisto? Sounds like a Star Wars villain.
But he was very much kind of like giving me that vibes, right, in the beginning,
Yeah.
because he's like, oh, my lab, and it's like literally an apartment, and like all these like he, it was just kind of
Yeah.
like
He's like, yo,
believe it.
I am a fucking mad scientist and I'm doing some crazy shit. And meanwhile, he's just like, him and his roommate are just like fucking around.
Yeah, on a computer. And then but everything is changed when an incident happens, and then this well-known like neuroscientist named Kurisu dies. And then he was like pretty much in the like vicinity of like it happened. I won't say how like she died, because that is very pivotal into like the story of this show in general. But
Yes.
like the whole point is that he discovers how to like go back in time, right? And then he has his roommate pretty much helping him going back in time. And he goes back in time with the intent to save her, that girl, Kurisu. But every single time he does this intentionally, obviously something has to change. Something consequently has to happen. And it literally does the whole butterfly effect as to like, what happens if you save this person? Does that mean someone else has to die in that place of that person? Or like, what is the butterfly effect of like saving this person, pretty much?
Yeah.
So yeah, like he pretty much has to like, he had to, or he didn't. I guess the thing is that it's not necessarily that he had to go back and save her, but he definitely felt like he needed to do so, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember his intention as to like why he like felt like he absolutely had to save her. But the whole idea is like you're time traveling and you have to reap the consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was like the more he was doing it and the more ridiculous everything started to happen. I think that was where like it became a little bit more and more crazy in like sanity wise, I guess, literally, because it's just like these things that are happening just becomes more and more wild, like as to
Yeah.
what was happening.
Because the more you change things, the more unstable it gets, less, But
Yeah,
there's also constants that seem to happen, and he's like, has to figure out what is like a kind of a universal constant that has to happen in every timeline, that no matter what he does, he can't avoid it.
right. And I think like he does talk about like how there are different timelines, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the timeline A, and then there's a timeline B, and then we live in one timeline, and we like pretty much is like literally timeline A, timeline B are very linear next to each other and everything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you shift enough, like if you change a certain event and you shift enough, then you can go into the timeline B. And then he like I feel like a lot of people who don't even know Steins, they might have seen like the counter.
Yeah,
You know,
very famous like iconography from the show.
yeah. And that's like pretty much what they use to kind of see how diverted they are away from the original timeline that they're in to like be in the second timeline. It's a very complex but interesting show, and it has like a lot of these like random like kooky moments that I like cannot get out of my head at all. Like
Yeah, it's not all hard science fiction.
yeah, like even the animation of it, it's like this filter where it just makes everything looks brighter. I don't know how else to explain it, but it
Mm-hmm.
feels like it has this filter on it that makes everything look brighter.
Yeah, I mean that might even be intentional, I feel, because of like the image of like a white room and like all that stuff, like scientific shit. I think the timelines might even sometimes be represented as like white streams as well.
Mm. Yeah. I guess the other thing for it that was like also interesting is like yeah, there's Steins Gate, but there's also Steins Gate Zero, and then there's like the alternate timeline. And it has like, and all of them still very much stay true to like the whole idea of it, of like what happens if you choose to try time travel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, I still can't get it out of my head how in the Japanese version, he pretty much tries to talk English, and it was just like the most funniest scene ever. And even in the English version, he like made him sound like such a stupid like
Yeah.
English, or like it doesn't make any sense. And I was like, this is hilarious. I think like if you watch it in sub, it's good. Even if you watched it in dub, it's like one of the few animes I would be like, it's good.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
legit one of the few animes I will ever say you can watch it in dubs.
And honestly, you can watch it in both because I feel like this is an anime that you get something new out of it each time you watch it. Like I've been yearning for a rewatch of this show because like, you know, I forget a lot of the finer details and I feel like I'm going to watch it and get a new perspective on it, you know, now knowing what I
Yeah.
kind of remember from the show and how it turns out. Then I plan on watching Steins Gate Zero because I have not watched that yet. Soon.
Yeah, you need to do that.
That'll be soon, I'm sure.
And
Yeah.
I think like what else is Steins Gate known for? That one character that goes doo doo doo.
Oh yeah, the chicken nugget girl.
Yeah,
The OG chicken tender girl.
yes. And then you have the shrine maiden who's actually a dude.
Okay, I don't know. Listen,
What?
I don't know what this says about me. I thought they were bae in the show. Like,
But like he even talks about it in the show.
I know, and I agreed with him.
I
It's
was
like
like laughing.
they're the most feminine, cutest one, and I was like, yeah, yeah.
But he's a dude.
But he's a dude. I don't know. Did they? Well, that was so something to note. This was like kind of before the current level of like gender identity became like
was-
mainstream.
Yeah, it was 2011 when this came out.
Yeah, and that's just the anime. So the visual novel that it was based on might have been different. Another thing, like it's really the best adaptation of a visual novel ever because each alteration of the timeline corresponds to a possible ending in the visual novel. So it like raises the level of cleverness in the adaptation like to an even higher level, which is so fucking cool.
Yes.
Yeah, you covered a lot of like what I'm probably gonna also say when it gets to my list because like yeah, kick-ass show, kick-ass science, kick-ass characters, like
Yeah, it's like such a versatile, like random set of characters. Like they're all weird. I think it's the best
they're
way
all
to think.
unique, they're all memorable for sure.
Yeah, for their own like little things. Or not even little things, big things, who knows.
Yeah, and they all have like their own moments too because like a lot of the timelines correspond to like changes that character wants to make. You know, so you see the consequences of like, you know, for example, the like trans character, they're like, I wish well, in like a roundabout way because she's the character's like oh, if I was told if you eat vegetables when you're pregnant that you will have birth to a girl instead of a boy or something. So the character's like, yeah, I kind of wish my mom ate more vegetables so that I would have been born a girl. And that happens. And so that's like just an example of like the kind of changes that can happen with the timelines and stuff. But even that has like drastic ramifications.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking too because like, you know, could you take away something like that from a person, them finally being able to be who they are? So it's heartbreaking, some of the choices that the main character has to make.
I definitely agree. And I love how like he always say El Sai Congo. That's like
That's his catchphrase.
that's his catchphrase. Everything about these characters are somewhat relatable in their own little way, I think. And there's no way you can't find one of these characters like to be the reason why you watch the show. Like it's weird. I want to preface that it's a weird because it's meant to be that way.
Yeah.
But if you're very much into sci-fi and suspense and time traveling, it's a little psychological too because I do think like it does get like mind fucky and like hurt your brain to try to figure out how he's gonna like hold this shit off kind of thing.
Yeah. I kind of wish now that I put it higher on my list, to be honest. Because like, you know, you're really like reinforcing like how quality so many of the aspects are. I think like for the interest of like time and flow, I should just like if we have a repeat, I should just put it on my list at the same time as well because I'm talking about them too, you know, at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you where these anime listed. So we have 2 repeats so far. We have Steins Gate, and Fate Zero. So Steins Gate for me lands at number 5, which
Mm.
now I kind of wish I rated it higher. So I feel a little bit of regretty spaghetti right now.
And
Maybe next time. So, and Fate Zero, I have a number 1.
oh, really?
Yes. So for me, like the pacing, the like kind of the tone of the show, like the darker tone of the show, but like not like indulgently so. A lot of moral and ethical dilemmas that the characters have to face.
Yeah.
You know, because they're ultimately doing dastardly things for ultimate power, the power to do anything.
You just like to have torture. So
No. I like stakes. I like there to be high stakes. I like there to be kind of like sacrifices because I like, you know, because you really get to know characters when they're put in situations like these.
yeah, that is true. Like it really shows who you are.
Yeah, and I like exploring kind of how deep and complex human beings can be with these fantastical situations that can only happen in like anime.
Yeah.
So
That's very
that's kind of why I like animes, because you can put characters in these crazy, stressful ass situations that would never happen in real life. So it's interesting to explore that. I was a psychology undergrad, if you guys can't tell. Yeah, so Fate Zero's number 1. The best episode ever is an episode called like the Holy Grail discussion or something, where three of the Guardian characters, Saber, Ryder, and Gilgamesh, all just sit down and they discuss what it means to be a king, what it means to be a leader of the people, what it means to want to conquer things. And it's from various perspectives because they're all from different times in history with countries that follow different ethics. So it's one of the most interesting explorations into a side of human culture and psyche that you normally wouldn't get, and it was done so well.
I agree because not like you brought that up, and I was like thinking when you said one of the best moments, I was thinking like, oh, it's gonna be at one of the fight animation scenes because they have yeah, I know, but like, yeah, and like it's funny you brought that up because like as soon as you said it, I was like, oh my god, yeah, how can I forget about that one? Because it's like there was no action. It was literally just them three sitting down talking, right?
Yep.
And it was just like, but it was still so like stimulating to like listen to them.
Yeah.
It's like just as stimulating as if they were doing a fight scene in front of us right now.
Because they were kind of fighting in a way. They were just fighting with their values and how they were able to defend them verbally instead of, through combat.
Yeah. Honestly, like hands down, I think like in that series, Ryder is ultimately always going to be my favorite.
He's the best. He's the best. In my opinion, he won that discussion.
I think so too. I mean, like, I'm not gonna say like Gilgamesh is or like Arthur is in the wrong because like you said, they all came from different times, different values, different cultures.
Yep.
But I do see how Alexander was definitely in it because he's doing it for the people, but also for like, I guess the way I want to see it as, I feel like he just finds it fun.
Yeah, he had the most conviction and the least amount of doubt in his heart.
Exactly. Like Gilgamesh has probably also the least amount of like doubt in his heart, but his like reason behind it is also like kind of
a bit shaky.
Morally corrupt.
Yeah, a bit shaky here. Yeah,
and then
Arthur kind of has a good foundation as well, but like isn't able to adequately defend it because their hearts kind of conflicted.
Yeah. Because in the end of the day, right, they talked about being good leaders and what it means to like be a good leader and conquer, like you said. But I think like because they were all born or like produced in a world where it's a dog eat dog type of world, is the question of
did you say dog eat dog or dog eat dog?
Dog eat dog.
Okay. Dog eat dog is a very funny statement too. But yes, very much survival of the fittest in this Grail War.
Yeah, and like all three of them came from that kind of situation, right? But it's the question of like who is gonna be more like who is more willing to like live through it I guess is the better way of saying it, because I definitely
Hmm.
don't feel like Arthur was willing to live through it. But then Gilgamesh and Alex both are very much willing to live through it, but then they live through it in a different way. Like
Yeah.
Alex is respected, Gilgamesh is feared.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different paradigms going on, a lot of different themes of and perspectives of humanity,
Yeah,
and what it means to be great, as it were, for Alexander the Great and everyone,
such a great
all
character.
all in one episode. So
I know.
that's all that and more is jettisons it up to number one for me.
Yeah. I mean, also on top of the amazing fight animation scenes.
Yeah, no, it don't miss. It don't miss. Like there was no episode where I was like that was bad. There was no moment where I was like that didn't make sense. That was bad. It was all good for me.
I agree. It's like nowadays I feel like a lot of like production companies are having such a hard time making consistently good episodes because they are always so rushed, always so pushed to
Yeah.
like do it at a certain amount of time and stuff like that. But like you can tell this is like, love and care tenderly like taken care of and everything like
Yeah.
that because they wanted it to be good.
Yeah, to me this is as close as you can possibly get to perfection in this medium. That's why it's number one, baby. Great show. So I guess I'll go on to my number 8 since that's where we're at right now.
Seven, I thought.
No, I never said my number 8.
Oh,
Uh,
go.
yeah, my number 8 for finished anime is The Great Pretender.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise there, a newcomer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, go. Why Great Pretender?
it was just such a fun experience from beginning to end. It was so different of an experience than I was expecting and used to in anime because, as you can tell from my list, I like things that are very intense, have a lot of high stakes, whereas Great Pretender was almost like you were on like a theme park ride and you were just going along with the characters, like those rides at Disney where they have the screen and it's like, oh, you're in Paris now, oh, you're in Egypt. That's kind of what it felt like.
Tell the viewers what it's like. Synopsis is.
Off the top of my head, it's about this Japanese con man who makes contact with I forget where he's from, like an international European con man who's like way better at the game. And he tries to con the European guy and just completely gets his shit rocks in terms of the con game. And then the European man eventually convinces him. I actually forget everyone's name, which is kind of embarrassing. To be fair, I've only watched it once. So the European man recruits him into his league of like con people, which include also an Iranian woman who is like kind of the muscle in the team, and this other like redheaded woman who's kind of like the actress of the team. She like does a lot of the like smooth talking and stuff. And together they do a whole bunch of different like cons, mostly against people that kind of deserve it, like kind of conning the con man.
Yeah.
And like along the way they make enemies, they make friends, and that kind of like goes a long way. They have to like use their con skills to kind of get the main guy, the European guy, out of some binds, to get the Japanese guy out of some binds. They do some things for the Iranian woman to kind of like make right with her past. And it just fits so many independent stories that meld into the main narrative in such like a fun way that I'm enjoying every second of it, while also feeling a very nice way for the characters. I almost, it's kind of, you make a parasocial relationship with the characters because they're so likable and they're all just kind of forming relationships with each other that you feel like you're part of the team too.
Yeah.
So it was just a really nice experience, and one of the best new anime that's been put out in my opinion. Real like sleeper hit, came out of nowhere for me.
The Great Pretender was also like in my top list that didn't make it to the top 10.
Yeah.
I do agree a lot with like a lot of things you said. It was like it's a short anime, it's not that long, and it's just like consistently put out great episodes for sure. And this animation style was also like very
really
fun to watch. Yeah.
No, I felt like I was like in an Indiana Jones movie or something. It was great. Like
I think that was a great pick.
Thank you. I thought you might like that one.
I did. I very much did. And I do agree. It's a great sleeper anime. Nobody has like
Yeah.
I think barely anyone has really talked about it, but it's
Yeah,
such
it's overlooked, which is weird because like a lot of people liked it at the time. It's just like not too many people have thought of it since, and I think it's because maybe because it's a Netflix anime, and that kind of comes
maybe.
with some stigma. But it was definitely worth the watch for something. It's not unserious, but like it's a little bit less serious. It's more of a joyride, but still a great plot, like great characters.
Yeah, because I think like at the end of the day, like just because it's a Netflix show or a Netflix
Like
anime
licensed,
doesn't,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't mean it isn't great. Like Netflix has other animes that's been on there that's like
Yeah.
killed it. I guess like an honorable mention could be like Cyberpunk killed the
Cyberpunk,
game.
Castlevania, Arcane, which I maybe should have considered more. I forgot about Arcane, but
But Arcane is like gonna be on your unfinished list. Like it has to be
that's
current
true.
running.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah,
that has a second season.
yeah.
Great Pretender, I think, is mostly done. Like it might
I,
have a second season, but like it was like a complete story,
I think it is
in
done.
itself. Yeah,
I don't I don't think I heard anything about it.
yeah, but it stands alone at the moment as a one season anime.
It's the second season.
Oh well, it's complete at the moment, so.
It's a ONA.
Okay, that doesn't count.
Oh, it's gonna be interesting. It's about the girl.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different side stories you can take because we delve a little bit into each character, but there's still a lot more to uncover for all of them.
Yeah.
So
All
that's
right.
that's my pick.
That's your
That's
pick.
my 8 pick. What's your
Wait,
7 pick? What?
wait. 10, 9, 8. Oh, 7. Oh, I'm like counting wrong.
Count correctly.
um, my number 7 is called XXXholic.
Okay. XXXholic. I mean, you've definitely mentioned this title to me before, but I don't remember exactly what it is.
Okay, so why I picked this one in particular, and it's another anime that I don't think a lot of people know about. Well, first of all, it came out in 2006. It's made by Clamp, the production company, and Clamp is known for Cardcaptor Sakura.
Uh-huh.
And they decided that, and then this is also under Clamp too. This is legit the MCU before MCU because they ended up creating something called the Tsubasa Chronicles, which ties in both of these worlds together. But before I like even get ahead of myself about the Tsubasa Chronicles, because Tsubasa Chronicle is a very interesting like set of series, or not series, because like I guess so, because you will have to watch Cardcaptor Sakura and then XXXholic to understand the Tsubasa Chronicles. Like I said, legit the MCU universe before MCU even was around,
Mm-hmm.
and to understand like this weird fantasy world that it's like literally setting in, pretty much. But this show alone is like, I don't like scary stuff. But like the premise of this is like literally supernatural drama and mystery, and it's like not scary, but like I always thought like whenever you talk like you do like shows on supernatural stuff, it might be scary.
Mm-hmm.
But this show is like, it was so intriguing to me. Like I will always think about the show because I always remember how like it was very intriguing in a sense where it's like it's very low key. There's not a lot of like crazy things happening in the show, but it was just intriguing in a sense like they talk about different like very like voodoo-esque things or spirits and like magical items and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
um so basically the premise is that this high school kid, he has this ability to pretty much see spirits, and he hates that he can see them because it
Fair.
pretty much made yeah, because it makes him like pretty much like weird and isolated from everyone else. And then on his way home one day, he like stumbled upon this house. So the thing about this house is that it would not appear to anybody normally, but it will appear to people who like are kind of seeking for it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he meets this woman named Yuko, and she has the ability to pretty much do whatever your request is, as long as you can pay the price of it. So he
Okay.
wants to like remove the ability to see the spirits, and she said, I can do it for you, but you have to work for me to pay your price. So what she does is she uses him to like, so what people believe in with her is that she grants wishes, but I don't think they realize that she grants wishes with a price to pay kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
he starts helping her do her work kind of thing.
Okay.
I think there was like one episode that like particularly was really interesting to me. It was like the monkey claw.
Oh, the monkey's paw.
Yeah, the monkey paw episode.
It's really funny that I sent you a monkey's paw gif earlier today.
I know it was because this was like I thought this like the storytelling is quite interesting. It's very different. Like even animation style is like it felt very like old school animation style, but it technically is because it's like the 2000s anime.
Right.
They're all like the characters were drawn in like very lanky type of way and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting like difference. But I think why I also like this a lot was because even though I'm particularly not like a religious person or like a spiritual person or anything really like that, it doesn't mean that I don't like the idea of like learning about like spirits, learning about like that whole like genre of things. And I think this kind of like did that satisfaction for me because compared to like animes back then, not a lot of them really did things like this where they really did talk about like stuff like monkey's paw type of thing or like like actual like spirits and things like that. And like I guess the focus was like a little bit of mix between like the Western and Japanese because I think monkey paws is technically like a Western culture thing.
I mean, probably. I'm not actually sure.
I'm not sure either, but I think I remember it as like a monkey as a Western thing. But either way, like I think the only thing about this show is like technically it is complete because there's no more episodes ever being produced anymore. So this is like one of my iffy ones because technically it's complete because there's no more episodes ever.
It's like Hunter x Hunter complete.
Yeah, it technically. I guess the other reason why it's kind of technically complete is because it ties into the Tsubasa Chronicles that comes out later after this, where you re-meet the characters and their role in this other MCU universe that they're creating, but they like play a very significant role into this whole their version of an MCU universe. And yeah, it's very like weird. It's very like odd animation, not a lot of crazy action, but I just like how different it was. It's like different enough that it like really stuck to me in the sense that like I remember it so well. Like I think like I can't, it's not one of those animes that I can be like I recommend this to everybody. No, it's definitely one of those animes that I gotta be like, are you into this kind of stuff?
If you like ghosts, come on in.
Yeah, like are you into like understanding spirits and like weird things like that? It's meant to be like I guess like when I first watched it, I thought it was I recommended to you before.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Like it's definitely one of those things where I'm like I would not recommend, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody and everybody, but it's definitely one of those things that I enjoy very much watching for like its mystery aspect to it.
Yeah.
Looking at the episode list, the other episode that I think I very much enjoyed was called the hydrangeas.
That's the flower?
Yeah, the flower. So I guess to preface it, it's is literally to look for a body.
Nice.
But like it's like hydrangeas are important in culture, like as a flower it's actually really important in certain cultures and stuff like that. And I think like it's important in the Japanese culture from what I remember. It like represents something and I just don't remember off the top of my head, but it is important to the culture. And I think they did such a good way of tying that like these kind of things into the anime. I guess in comparison it's like Supernatural, the TV show. But it didn't run out for like but it doesn't run on for like 13 seasons and does fighting gods and different mythology and shit like that.
You gotta do something if you're gonna keep going.
Oh gosh, I hated that when they did that.
Yeah. Okay, so question.
Yes.
What the fuck is up with the title XXXholic?
Bro, I don't know why they named it
like,
that.
I think that's where like a lot of the kind of confusion and like overlooking happens because it sounds like a show about a sex addict.
Why couldn't you just see it as like the XXX part is just like meant to be like you're filling in the word?
Because that's not what XXX means in Western society.
Well, technically, the actual proper pronunciation for the title is just Holic.
Yeah, well, I mean that's like another like thing that's hard for Westerners to kind of pick up on, like Hunter x Hunter versus Hunter x Hunter. Because yeah, to us it looks like Sex Addict the show, so I would not have guessed it was about learning about spirits and such things.
Oh, I just looked it up on the wiki, and it says the manga is still ongoing.
Nice. So it's a continuing story if you want to go to
Mother
the manga.
freak!
No, that doesn't count because you said they're not planning on making additional episodes, right?
Not that I know of.
You know, I mean, it's too late now, so he's on the list.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I don't know why. I thought about it too. I'm like, why did they give it that name? But then again, I don't know why they
It
give
almost,
any title any names.
yeah, it almost feels like almost like a kind of diversion. It's almost like, you know, when you like don't want someone to come into a place, so you label it something, but then it's actually something else. So it's like almost like a speakeasy of a show. Just like this is like a nuclear waste dump, but in actuality, it's a cool bar.
I guess let's
ghosts.
okay, hold on. Let's look up what holic means.
Well, holic usually means, you know, it's a suffix for an addict.
Addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is he addicted to spirits?
No, because he wants to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused.
You're asking me a question I have no answers to.
I'm sorry. Well, that's something, you know, we'll leave it, you know, I hate when professors do this, but we'll leave that as an exercise for the viewer.
Oh wait, I'm looking
never
at
mind. All right, we back.
I'm looking at the wiki, and it says the manga title was originally going to be Addicted, but they changed it to a less ambiguous Holic.
Less ambiguous. What is he?
Yeah.
What is the addiction?
I mean, yeah, they kind of do go into like people who has like these weird issues and stuff. Just saying.
Interesting. Oh, maybe it's a metaphor, like the spirits and shit are metaphor for like personal demons or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. It pretty much is.
Okay.
But they said that Holic pretty much focuses on like social pathology, but with a more esoteric tone.
Interesting. Okay.
And then like they said the XXX part is like they want you to fill in the blank
fill
for
it
it.
in for whatever. Yeah. Okay, so there's some layers to this.
Yeah, I'm like trying to remember like examples of like episodes where they did something like this, but yeah, I just think it's a great show on its own, and I think it's just underrated for what it was, and that's my take.
Yeah, sounds good. Check it out. All right. I got another contentious one cooked up for you.
Oh gosh, okay, what is it?
Are you ready? All right, number
Go.
7. Soul Eater.
I never even watched Soul Eater.
It's good. And there's a lot. So Soul Eater is one of the only shows at like slash media anime where I've watched the anime as well as reading the manga. Both are like short enough, and the manga heavily deviates at a certain point. Or rather, I should say the anime heavily deviates. And a lot of people had a problem with how the anime deviated.
Did a lot of people have an issue with the anime itself?
No, the anime I feel like was, and kind of still is, like pretty popular.
Was
But
the ending really
yeah,
egregious?
I don't think it was, but I can see where they're coming from. So it's not so much egregious as it was like kind of anticlimactic.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, because it's like building up this thing and then it's kind of like resolved much more quickly than you would have expected. And in a way that's kind of like lame, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like,
Got it.
it's like you solved your problems by punching it instead of like, you know, all the others. But to be fair, the manga goes completely off the rails in a different way. Like, they bring a literal witch hunt into it. There's like murder happening everywhere. There's like a race war almost. Like, there's a huge like epic MCU type battle on the moon. Like,
Okay, so why is this on your top?
so I think this is mainly just like a personal list, like a personal pick rather, because for me, like I really love the setting. I love like the Halloween like aesthetic. I like the concept, like, you know, like the concept where students are put into pairs. One is a weapon, one is a weapon wielder, and their goal is to power up the weapon enough to become a weapon to be used by death, like Shinigami. So I just like that conceptually, and for me, like in both the anime and the manga, there's a lot of strong character moments. Like the characters grow in very interesting ways. Really, it was one of my early animes, and it just feels like a little bit more personal to me than like a lot of other shows do. Like not really for any particular reason, just I like related to the main character a lot, Maka. Like she was just really cool, and like she had issues with her family in similar ways that I do, and like had kind of like a chip on her shoulder the same way I do, like with what she wanted to prove, and like that she can stand on her own 2 feet and become great on her own kind of thing. And she deals with like troubles, a lot of like setbacks shit. So it kind of felt like a personal journey for me, just veiled in like a really cool aesthetic that I also liked. And yeah, a lot of it is a little bit style over substance, but the substance, in my opinion, is also very good. And it's a little bit less serious for the most part, but when serious moments happen, they hit hard because of like, it's usually like very lighthearted, I don't necessarily have like a logical argument this time. It's more so an emotional plea, but yeah, I just really like it. That's kind of it.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I do hear good things about it, but obviously the ending was what everybody was kind of pissed off about.
Yeah, the ending didn't bother me as much. At the beginning, I wanted a little bit more, which is why I read the manga. But the manga ending is, like, in my opinion, not any better. Because, like, the anime's ending is too simple, right? And a little bit like not conclusive enough. I think people wanted more, but the manga ending is also not conclusive in the ways that people wanted the anime to be, but is convoluted as fuck.
I mean, that's the struggles when you're dealing with like early animes, right?
Yeah, so like something in between would have been good, but yeah, this is definitely more of a journey versus destination. Like I just thoroughly enjoyed watching it. It was a great experience for me, and I've watched it like a second time. Just something I enjoyed watching a lot.
You watching other things and you choose to watch it a second time.
Well, it was good. This was a while ago. This was like 2014, whenever it was.
Got it.
It's almost it borders on a nostalgia pick, I guess, because like really related to it, but. If you're interested, watch it. I think you should give it a shot.
I mean, I might watch it when I have the time for it. But that being said, rolling down on this nostalgia train, my next pick is gonna be Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon! The OG?
I mean, the OG Sailor Moon, like the 1990s Sailor Moon is where you gotta be at. And this is one of those moments where I'm gonna say sub or dub, doesn't matter. And I say this because I watched it as dub and it was the funniest fucking shit.
It was really funny.
It's like a lot of those like freaking one-liners freaking hit so hard, and like watching them again I was like, damn, I was a kid and did not understand that, but now I do, and it's even more hilarious.
Oh, when I see a old school Sailor Moon meme, like to this day I'm like sitting in my chair like clapping, I'm like laughing. I love it.
But also like Sailor Moon is definitely one of those because it's a pivotal anime, right? It's a pivotal anime for magical girls, and it was also like a very pivotal anime in a sense that it broke into the Western world pretty fucking big too. Like it didn't stay just in like Japan. It like broke into the Western world, very well known. Like the original Sailor Scouts and everything like that, super well known. And like obviously they have like this whole crazy like franchise over it, and they still do. It's like such a cult favorite. Like if you don't know Sailor Moon, you be living under a rock because they literally remade this shit again.
Yeah, if you don't know, you better learn. You're missing out.
Not only was the fact that Sailor Moon was written by a girl, it's not like a romance thing. It's literally about these girls kicking ass and everything like that. And then on top of that, I think like it does like the whole thing about like kind of sort of like the power of friendship type of thing, but it just made more sense compared to like Naruto.
Yeah, gave me like a warm feeling whenever I'd watch it with my sister.
Yeah, right? Because it's like it's like you always know kind of sort of like what's gonna happen in an episode kind of thing, and you know how they're like kind of have an idea of how they're overcoming it, but it was just like it was such a fun like ride regardless, even if you knew the outcome of the episode. But then like when it actually hit to like, you know, the main boss fights and stuff like that, you see Sailor Moon struggle, and you see like how she has to overcome it. And then like I think like a lot of the other things that like Sailor Moon did so well on is the fact, well, aside from the fact, you know, it's written by a female, it like because it's written by a female, I feel like she understood like what a lot of girls struggle with, you know, like
Yeah.
a lot, you know, a lot of insecurities that all these like Sailor Scouts had and everything like that. She displayed it in them, and then she shows how they like overcome, and it's like a lot of the times they overcome it with like legit friendship, like having a supportive friend.
Yeah,
And
having a support system.
yeah, and that's why I thought like it's watching Sailor Moon was such a like good way to teach young girls that like you can have insecurities about your masculinity, you can have insecurities about your intellect, you can have securities about like what your religion is based on and everything like that, but it doesn't, in the end of the day, like your true friends are gonna accept you and love you and like care for you no matter what. And
Yeah.
that's why I thought like it was such a good show, because like yeah, it deals with like the power of friendship, but the power of friendship makes sense in this situation. Like she's trying to she's only one person, she's trying to harness the power of like other people to fight against the bad guy kind of thing, as
Mhm.
opposed to I don't understand what the power of friendship is in Naruto or anything like that, you know what I mean?
So, Naruto ain't friends with anybody. Everyone hates him.
That's mean.
I'm not the kids. I'm not the ones hating him.
But like yeah, original like the 1990s one I thought was, it's just so good, it's so funny, it's like bonkers in like their animations, like the
Yeah.
over exaggeration and stuff is so funny.
No, it's absolutely iconic, and from a male perspective too, watching it I feel like helped me kind of understand like the female perspective on a lot of things, which was really cool.
I just made my little brother watch it with me because he also enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like a nice thing.
It was, and I think like I understand like they remade Sailor Moon recently, because they wanted to make it more true to the manga. Because the
Mhm.
way the art style was in the 90s isn't true to the manga. Yeah, the looks is similar, but like all the characters were drawn more skinny. The look of it felt more like high fashion, I guess is the best way of describing it. And then like there wasn't a lot of like, the manga was very straightforward. Like the amount of fillers that are in the actual like 90s anime was a lot, because the manga was
That's
more straightforward.
that's just kind of how it was back then.
Yeah, but I liked how the fillers are. Like even if it is fillers, like the way they did fillers in Sailor Moon was just hilarious, and I loved it. Like there's no way you're gonna change my mind about it. Don't get me wrong, I very much appreciate the remake as well, because it's really like beautifully done in terms of animation and everything, but like nothing can really top the original Sailor Moon in my mind. It's just like nostalgia, and like also just how influential it is, and how it's just like a great anime altogether. And it's also like one of those very few instances where I'm like, there is a main focus, and the main focus is in love, but and love is kind of a side thing. But at the same time, I'm like willing to overlook it, because even in the freaking song, it's like fighting evil by wait, how does it go?
Fighting evil by daylight, or is it by
No,
moonlight?
it's fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight.
Winning love.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
she's the
so
one called Sailor Moon.
yeah, but like it's like literally in the song, right? Like
Yeah.
you know, and then at that time it kind of makes sense, because what, she was like a middle school like
Yeah, she
schooler.
was a young kid. Well,
Yeah,
not young, but like adolescent, I guess.
yeah, but it also makes sense because they were pretty much destined to be together.
Hey, you got
Yeah,
a tuxedo and a mask. You can't do better than that.
I know. Little just pops in.
Most guys don't even have one.
Exactly. Most guys don't even pop in when you're in danger. He at least pops in and make
Yeah,
a one-liner and dip.
that's what I used to do.
Yeah, it's a, if you haven't heard of it, it's a great show, and you've been living under a rock. If you have.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Check that out, especially if you have like young, like, you know, daughters or something in your life.
Yeah.
Or just watch by yourself and no one can judge you. You're big and strong and no one can say shit. Oh. I surprised myself with my next pick. I forgot.
What do you mean you surprised yourself?
I forgot I put it on there. I wonder if this is on your list as well. So number 6 on my list is Death Parade. The
No,
short-lived
it's
Death Parade.
it's on my like top 15, but not my top 10.
That's fair. Yeah, Death Parade was such a flash in the pan. It was so good, but it was like so short. Essentially, like when you die, you would go down to this bar area, and there's a bartender there who would be like, "Hey, dogs, you want to play a game?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, for sure. That sounds fun. Hey, by the way, where are we?" And he'd be like, "Don't worry about that. Anyways, let's play like roulette or pool or something." And so they'd play that game usually against another person. And slowly but surely, their character traits would come out based on, what's happening in the game. They might get frustrated. They might like be winning and like have the chance to kind of kick it down to opponent type of thing. And all the point of these games are to essentially judge their character, whether they should be allowed into heaven or cast down into hell. And so it's just like a very cool concept with very like engaging, mysterious characters. And every episode was something different, where it's like, it was kind of episodic, where it'd be new people getting tested every time to see whether they would go to hell or not. And I feel like there was a lot of catharsis during the judgments, because you'd see a bad person get immediately punished and a good person immediately redeemed.
Yeah.
So every episode kind of had like an emotional payoff.
Yeah.
And there was also the mystery with the main character, the perspective character, who kind of comes in and serves as the assistant, but you don't really know. She doesn't know. She remember who she was or how she got there. The whole thing is kind of like almost her test as well. So, and it's all contained within a neat 12-episode package. The only issue with it is that I wish there was more of it. There's like a couple of plot lines not really tied up too satisfactory, but they're kind of like the side plot lines. Like the main shit is very good.
Okay, so here's the reason why it didn't make it into my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it didn't finish. Like in my head, it did not finish. It did not, like you're saying it tied up, but I don't think it's tied up at all. It just left more questions for me, and I love it. I have like this love-hate relationship towards it, because I wanted to, like, I wanted to continue. I wanted to finish. I want to continue listening to that banger of an opening.
Yeah.
And it's like they're like robbing me of something that could be so like good, because
that's
like
my only grievance.
Like I think I can comfortably put it into my top 10 if it was like finish out pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? It's the fact that it didn't, and it's not even announced to be. So
yeah, I think your overall impression of it will definitely be shaded in by having to deal with unanswered questions.
Yeah, I don't want unanswered questions. I want answers.
Yeah, so I kind of came to terms with it after a while, but yeah, for me, it still hits the most where it matters the most. It's just, I wish there was more, just for the sake of it. I enjoyed it so much, as well as giving payoff to all these plot lines that weren't able to get it.
Yeah.
That's my number 6. What do you got for number 5?
I added Mob Psycho 100.
What do you mean you added? Like, did you alter your list?
No, but I thought about it for a while.
Okay.
I was like, do I keep this at number 5, or do I want it to go higher?
Oh, okay.
Because Mob Psycho was definitely one of those animes that I like look forward to all the time when it came out. I think it's one of Bones, like, I won't say best work, but it definitely is like one of their top works. And Bones Studio is also like very good, because it's known for like the other things like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, or Boku no Hero, Noragami, Soul Eater. They've done a good collection of like stuff, and I think Mob Psycho is probably one of their best work, because the animation was like so good. It looks very cartoonish based on like when you like look at it just on paper and everything. Like, yeah, everyone is drawn like really cartoonish and stuff, but when it times to like fight, their animation quality, oh my god, it's like god tier at this point. And I do believe like Bones have that capability because of like the other animes they produced and everything like that. So this one did not disappoint. But basically what it's about is like, so it's about this kid, his nickname is Mob, and he pretty much has psychic powers, and he pretty much was told that his psychic powers are very freakish, so he pretty much withheld it. he realized that there is danger to his skill, but also like people just look at him weird. Like I think even at one point they show that his parents don't approve of what he like of his psychic powers either.
Oh.
Aside from that, like he pretty much meets this guy, Rengen, who calls himself a psychic but not really is a psychic, and then realized that Mob is actually a psychic. So he pretty much uses Mob to help him do his dirty work. But in this kind of like odd, suspicious relationship that they have, they actually develop a very like good, wholesome relationship because the Rengen is like the way he is because of like his past, right? Like I think everyone is pretty much defined by their past as to like why they do certain things that they do. Rengen is one of them. And like I think what is so special about the character's development in this is the fact that there is like very evident character development in like the 3 episode spans are like pretty much 12 episode long each. Another thing as to like I don't want to give away too much as to like what kind of character development had to be like approached and stuff like that, but like Mom has always been such a shy kid and everything like that. He's a shy kid who feels like his psychic powers were like nothing of a nuisance pretty much beforehand until he pretty much met Rengen, who like told him to harness it and try to help him be like overcome fears and overcome like hesitations and stuff like that. I think that's what really sold the show for me. Is not even the fact that oh they have good action scenes or whatever the fuck. It's literally because like the characters themselves are so well made and likable, and you just like want to like root for them. And I think they tied the ending up very well. Like there's not a lot of shows in general, not even like an anime world, but like just shows out in the world in general. I don't think there is a lot of shows that I can say like they tied up the ending very well. They didn't drag it out too long. They didn't do whatever. No, Mob's like 3 season done. They didn't try to drag it out. They didn't try to do nothing more with it. It was like, this is what the creator mangaka decided. It's only going to be this long, and this is what they did.
I love that. That's how it should be.
Yeah, and I agree. That's how it always should be. And I think like, and pretty much Mob Psycho was almost like a pretty much finished product at the time when they started producing it too. So they had like a clear goal as to like what things were like projection of things pretty much of where it was going to go anyway. Because Mob Psycho is actually the first work of the guy who created One Punch Man.
Oh, it was before One Punch Man?
Yeah, Mob Psycho was before One Punch Man, but then One Punch Man got picked up first by the studio, and then I guess they realized that Mob Psycho was also good, so that also got picked up. But I think like it's just one of those shows where it's like a little quirky, a little kooky, a little like character, all about the character development type of thing. And I think like there's something just so like lovable about the characters themselves too, because they generally feel like just regular, like it's literally kids, like high school, middle school kids, but it's literally kids, and like their struggles is like literally trying to figure out how to feel accepted or how to feel like a certain way while you're trying to figure out like your position in life type of thing. And I think like they did such a good like hearted way of like just and wrapping it with like a bunch of crazy psychic power shit that was like really good. And it's like called Mob Psycho because Mob himself, he has like since he's bottling up all his psychic energy and powers and stuff like that, he's a very calm character. Like if you meet him, he's a very calm character, but he has a breaking point, and that's like when he hits 100%. That's why it's called 100%.
I didn't watch it yet, but that's interesting. I didn't know that.
And it's usually when he comes under stress, like whether it's stress because of embarrassment or stress because of like anger or like something like that. Because like I said, he's a pretty monotone character, very calm and everything. But like once he like blows his top, then it's like he just becomes like this unstoppable, like overpowered monster kind of thing. Yeah, it's a very interesting. I mean, it's a very good show. Like I was so sad when it ended. I was like, a tear came down my.
That's a show that I've known for a while. I would love, but I've been kind of like savoring it because I just for the exact right moment when I need a show like that.
Everybody needs a show like this all the time. What do you mean?
Well, when like something's good and you're looking forward to it, it's almost like you want to have your cake and eat it too. Where like I'd rather have the cake than eat it if I had to choose.
I mean, I guess, but at the same time, I'm like, but wouldn't you want to experience it?
Yeah, but if I experience it, then I can't be looking forward to experiencing it again.
But
Eventually, I'll
then,
have to eat it.
yeah, eventually you're gonna have to eat it, but that doesn't mean you can't like watch it again.
That's true. Yeah, if it has that like staying, I actually didn't know it was finished.
I think it just finished this year.
Oh,
Was it
okay.
this year?
Yeah, because now that it's finished and like I know it's good all the way through. It does have that like replay value.
I do think a lot of people were kind of if about the last season, but
Hmm.
I personally honestly thought the last season was just a well done, tied up story. Like I don't need it to do anything more at all. Like I thought it was like some people were like saying, "Oh, it's like not done well" or whatever, or like everyone has their own commentary as to like what they think, right?
Yeah, well, you can't please
Personally,
everybody.
no, you can't. But personally, for me, I was like, this is one of the few animes that I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Jeez, wow. Okay.
Like the last Mob Psycho 100 Part 3, the last season.
Yeah, I mean, we have very similar sensibilities, so that's kind of a good thing that you like it, but other people don't.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people were just kind of like very if about the last particular season is because it was it that they felt it was a little dragged on maybe or something like that. I can't remember what their complaint is, but to me I was like they did enough, like in my opinion. Like I thought they did enough for what they needed to do.
Hmm.
And it's like I said, it's all just 12 episode season, so like I don't know what the heck else they would want. Because everyone says season 3 was a disappointment compared to like the previous season.
Whatever. I'll judge for myself.
Yeah, because I think like they only have so much source material left for season 3, and they have to like kind of stretch it out a little bit. It's like kind of sort of what ended up happening. But
Okay.
even then, I'm like, it didn't change anything for me.
Hmm.
Like if I looked at it at a bigger picture, it didn't change anything for me as to how I felt about the anime and everything like that. All right, what's
Whatever.
yours?
Okay, number 4. Let's see. This is fun because I forget it, then I have to look at my phone to check the list. Okay, my number 4 is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Good
Another
choice.
another universal favorite. Is that on your list?
It is not on my.
That you're crazy.
Don't get me wrong. I think I gush about Brotherhood so much, and I whenever remember when I watched Brotherhood and I watched the original
Yeah,
afterwards, and then I was like so pissed off that I watched the original
yeah. I mean, the original's good.
up
For
to a point.
up
Up
to
to a point.
Yeah, up to a point. For me, even without like the extra, not padding, but I guess like breathing room in the beginning that
Mhm.
Full Metal Alchemist has, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood for me felt like a complete story. I didn't really need the extra context personally. Events might happen in like a single episode, and for me, it was still effective. I was kind of able to kind of keep up with the paces.
Okay, Brotherhood, I would say like I very much like Brotherhood so much. I agree, it's like definitely another one that is a cult favorite, another one that is like there's no way you don't know about Full Metal Alchemist. There's too much memes and too much like,
Yeah.
lore behind it and like too much like,
It's
momentum
it's it's
behind
the
it. Even
people's champ.
it really is. Great storytelling, great characters. I want to say why it did not make it into my top 10 is because like all these other animes definitely had like something for me in a sense. Like full don't get me wrong, Full Metal Alchemist definitely has something for me too. I think like I murked the water when I watched the
Oh,
original.
yeah, probably. Yeah, you got all your conflicted emotions all at one place now.
Yeah, because I hated the ending. I absolutely hated the original's choice and ending. And I was just like, everything is wrong. I hate this.
It's not real, it's an alternate timeline.
Who decided to do this? Who made this
The
decision?
Steins Gate scientist has to go back and change it. For me, like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood had like really good pacing. Even in the beginning, like I didn't mind the fast pacing then. But like
Mm,
especially after the point where it kind of deviated from the original, like, the war stuff with like Armstrong, like both the Armstrongs really, like
yeah.
the four Chimeras, their surprising character arcs was really interesting when Ed and Alphons kind of like split up and have to kind of form their own bonds and form their own like paths back to where they have to be. That's kind of the point in which to me it became like one of the best shows for me.
I agree. I think they did this the Seven Sins so much better in Brotherhood. I think the Sins were another big reason why I did not care for the original one, because Brotherhood just did so much better in terms of like explaining them and like their purpose and their drive and everything like that. I thought they did that so much better.
Absolutely.
Who was it? Who was like completely different? Was it Gluttony that was completely different?
Gluttony was like one of the early ones. Are you thinking of Sloth or Wrath or Pride?
Wrath and Pride, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think
they were
Wrath and
switched, right?
one of them was a kid and one of them was the sergeant.
In Brotherhood, Pride was the kid and Wrath was Fuhrer Bradley.
Yeah, but then was it different in?
Yeah, in the original, I mean, you're the one who watched it, but in the original anime, I believe King Fuhrer Bradley was Pride. He was like the one behind everything.
Or was it the dad?
Well, the dad, Hohenheim, like, he has his own shit going on, and then there's the homunculus. Honestly, Hohenheim kind of confused me a little bit. That kind of detracted a little bit.
It kind of did, right? But then at the same time, like, all right, so this is where we're going here.
Yeah, again, love the father issue animes. Keep them coming. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, just like everything on a production level was amazing. The dub was great. The music was great. Pacing, cinematography, storytelling. It's all great. You know, this is all stuff you've heard before, I'm sure.
Wait, I think in the original, they didn't have Armstrong's sister.
Which sucks. She's one of my favorite characters.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like everything about like the original had nothing that I liked from Fullmetal Brotherhood. And I was like, what am I doing to myself? Why am I even watching this right now?
Yeah, for me, the strongest stuff comes later in the Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood that isn't in the original at all. Show Tucker, you know, good, very iconic. Big Brother Edward, you know. Hughes, Major Hughes, of course, like legendary character. Huge, like, emotional hit during that. But for me, I got all of that in Brotherhood.
Yes.
There was a little bit more of it in the original, but I didn't need it. The later stuff is really what got me, gave it a permanent spot in like my favorites list.
I agree, because even the way they did one of the homunculus, who's the one that can turn into a lizard?
What?
The one that ended up being like a lizard looking like thing?
Oh, Envy?
Oh yeah, Envy. Like even like the way they chose to like do Envy and like how they incorporated all these other like characters from like different regions and stuff like that. I was like, oh, this is so interesting. You're incorporating like Asian, like, because it was a very Western thing, right? Like the whole way they do magic and alchemy is like a very Western thing, but then they brought in like an Eastern character. Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's like
so important to the plot.
Yeah, so that was like, oh, this is really good. But yeah, like all these other characters are very interesting to like. All the side characters are like super interesting to like understand and watch. Even the Seven Sins felt more interesting to watch than in Brotherhood than in the original, pretty much.
Full agree. Great show. Just universally loved. Watch it if you haven't somehow. Yeah. I mean, there's people who haven't.
Isn't Giga one of them?
Yeah, Giga or Joey, one of the Trash Taste fellows, has not seen it and rightfully gets shit for it.
Yes, I agree. It's like a go-to anime for a reason, and I feel like it should like be something you watch before you kind of die, if you want to call yourself an anime fan type of thing.
Like,
you never know when you're gonna die.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. I'm someone who does like to watch anime after the hype dies, like so I can kind of judge it on its own merits, but you can't really do that for something like Fullmetal Alchemist because it's not gonna die. You know, so you might as well just do it because even with the expectations, it lives up to it or exceeds it.
I think, okay, just a little sidetrack, but I think anime nowadays is like, if it gets too hyped, then people are gonna be like shitting on it. So
Obviously.
yeah, like people think like, oh, it's too hype, gotta humble it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of dumb, but like I think nowadays is like you can watch whatever anime and not have to deal with the hype because people are always gonna shit on it anyway.
Yeah.
If it's too hyped.
Yeah, you just kind of have to not let the noise influence you. I guess easier said than done, but
it honestly
it's a
is.
skill. You can develop it.
I think that being said, my next choice is actually, I think it's award winning actually.
Oh.
And it's a recent one too.
Award-winning recent one.
I think I've like talked about it when it first came out. Because I thought
no.
No?
There was, I mean, Golden Kamuy, that's not finished, right?
No.
Okay.
But that's a good guess.
Shoot, what is finished lately? Okay, no, I'm not gonna guess it.
Odd Taxi.
Odd Tax. Oh, you actually have not talked to me too much about this show.
Because I don't want to give away too much. It's only a one season show, 13 episodes long, and if you don't feel like watching that, you can get away with watching their movie, which is pretty much a summary movie. Odd Taxi is another one that I give a 10 out of 10 for.
Is that like what you can say about all the ones at this point in the list?
Maybe. I think so. But like Odd Taxi being such a recent anime, and for me to like just be like, yo, this shit is goated.
Yeah, auto-goated.
It's like, I mean, like my anime list score is at 8.68, which is pretty highly ranked. Not a lot of people are giving it a chance because of the fact that all these characters are animals.
It's hard for me to really know anything about it beforehand, I guess, because I feel like the greatness in it is from experiencing it.
I had hesitation of watching it before too, based on like the promotional cover poster.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why? It's just like a wars driving a taxi and then hearing
it's like
stories.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought it was like really weird to be like watching it, so I didn't really care for it because it's not like Beastars where like these animals are like literally talking about like discrimination and things like that, but in like forms of animal type of thing. In Beastar, they talk about carnivores versus like herbivores type of thing. There's a discrimination towards the carnivores. I think it dives in a little more into like other things, but that's so far what I got. Anyways, but with this one, it does such a good job, in my opinion, in a 13 episode anime that is only 30 minutes long. And the theme and genre for it is drama, mystery, and suspense. And the theme is organized crime. Like it's such a weird, like when I saw that, I was like, this is such a weird mix of things, and you have animals pretty much. Like,
yeah.
Like I wasn't sure what to really make of it, but I'm glad that I went into this with that kind of perception because it like flipped the script on me so hard. Like watching it, I don't think I can say enough good things about it because I think it is underrated for what it like did. It does this thing that I like to see in movies in general where they take like different people's like pieces in their time in life and then show you how it connects.
Oh yeah, that shit's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what that kind of like choice in like direction is called, but that's pretty much what they do. Is like they have different characters that this like wars meet, and then eventually you're gonna slowly see how they all connect together.
I really like that.
Yeah, me too. I think
that might just be like enough because I love that type of story structure.
Me too, and I feel like there's not enough people who can do it well.
No.
But they actually do it very well in like such a short span of time with the amount of characters that they actually introduce. I think like the ending of it all has such a good twist. I would say that if you're gonna watch it, I would just go straight into probably maybe the summary movie because the summary movie does a summary, but then at the last couple of minutes of the movie itself, they add like an extra scene, like a prologue, right?
Is it before or after the
after
show?
after
Epilogue.
epilogue. So they do an epilogue after like where the show itself ends, pretty
Oh,
much.
okay.
Yeah, but like I mean, it doesn't hurt if you want to watch like the actual segmented episodes first, and then just go to the movie and then skip towards the end, pretty much.
So is the movie just like the episodes stitched together and then the epilogue?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty much
so you're
what it
not
was.
like losing anything from it.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. That is good.
Yeah, because I think me and Joe pretty much talked about it, and we were like, oh, this is just like a summary movie. But then at the end, it pretty much talks about like the epilogue pretty
Yeah,
much
the
happened.
aftermath. Okay.
Because the show itself leaves you on a cliffhanger.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And do you feel like the epilogue gave you a satisfying conclusion?
Yeah, it did.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that's why I rank it so highly, because it's got that noir feel to like the whole situation, which is not a common thing in an anime to begin with.
Yeah.
And then they incorporate animals into this as characters, but they do it for a reason. And
Okay.
also on top of that, like I love mystery and suspense type of like these type
Same.
of shows. It's like not meant to be scary or anything, but it's meant to like keep
Yeah.
you wanting more after every single episode, pretty much.
And nobody told me this shit.
What do you? I told you this shit too.
When?
When it came out, I was like, I think you would really like this, but you're
Damn,
like
I
kind
guess
of
I was busy with some shit or something.
like me and Joe were talking about it all the time whenever an episode was dropping.
Oh, oops. Well, it's definitely gonna go close to the top of my list now because of its length and all the, shit I do like.
Yeah, I felt like this is something that you definitely like. I mean, like anybody who likes like drama, mystery, suspense type of show and a very noir type of feel show, like
Mm-hmm.
or even the direction of how they chose to like connect your characters, I think this is a great show to like watch. It definitely hits it checks a lot of my boxes. Animation is very like good though. Like it never felt choppy. Directions never felt like very stagnant or anything like that. Like it felt like it was such a good flow in terms of storytelling, and animation never strayed away from trying to be like too adventurous of like putting in 3D or whatever the freak people try to do these days and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It stayed very like on brand for it, I guess is the best way you can say it. It's not shitty animation. It's like good enough animation that I'm like not like jarred by like something weird that they're trying to do.
Enough quality to effectively tell its story.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Alright, are you ready for my number trace?
What is your number, Trace?
Alright, you already knew this was coming. It's Demon Slayer.
That's your number 3, even though you complain about
No.
it?
No, it's not even finished yet. No, I hate Demon Slayer.
Oh yeah, you're right. We're on the finish line.
No, it's Shiki.
Oh yeah.
This is a show that, out of everything I've watched, is probably the least known. I found out about it by like looking at my anime list, looking for like a vampire show essentially, and lo and behold, I find Shiki, which is about this like small isolated village, and the isolated part is very important, that suddenly people start disappearing in, and there's not too many like people of authority and knowledge that can really help. There's like a doctor who's like pretty knowledgeable, and like there's like a sheriff and like a cop. What ends up happening is like the two most like viable people to try and solve this mystery is a high school student and the doctor. And so there's like people disappearing, and they're like, this kind of coincides with these people who bought a mansion who never come out during the daylight. That's a little bit like of an interesting coincidence, but I guess we'll just go on with our day. It really builds into like an interesting like story about paranoia, trust, the choices you have to make, what it means to like protect the people you love. It's one season, kind of tells a complete story, like satisfying ending. Characters aren't necessarily the most like strong. They're not like Fullmetal Alchemist level like character development, but they are developed enough that you feel for them. It's kind of like, living in a small village. You kind of know these people, but you don't really. Like, you kind of see what happens to them and see how it affects them. It's more of like the town itself as a character more so than like most of the people. And keeping track of like who's related to who is important, because like how the villains kind of find their victims matters in that way, because trust is a huge thing. Can you trust even your loved ones when this sort of shit is happening? A lot of the shit I like: tension, mystery, suspense, vampires. Diamond in the Rough, love this show. Like, I'd watch it again and again. Super duper good show.
What did you rate this on on our rubric, pretty much?
I don't know. I feel like I probably rated it highly, like a 9 or like an 8.5 or something. Maybe an 8. I tend to rate like things a bit low because I'm not cynical. I guess I don't enjoy things very much. I don't know. No, but I graded it pretty highly in terms of like anime. It's not necessarily the best show. It doesn't have the same production value as like other shows on this list. It doesn't have the same character writing as shows on this list. You know, it's like, and I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, it's like the show Midnight Mass, which is like one of my favorite fucking shows ever. Very similar premise, very similar themes, supernatural happenings in a small town, paranoia, groupthink, all these different like human conditions you see in the forefront. Yeah, it just kind of had all of the things that I like. So it's not necessarily like a 10 out of 10 for everyone, but for me and people with similar tastes, it's a very enjoyable experience.
I don't know if you mentioned Midnight Mass in the podcast or if it was like just our random
I
usual
probably
conversation.
always mention Midnight Mass to you because that's like, I love
Well,
that show.
I mean, I watched it. Oh, it's because we ranked it when we were talking about
Oh, the
comparison.
Mike Flanagan shows.
Yes, which also great set of shows.
Yeah, I'm a huge stan for Mike Flanagan. Love all of his shit.
He does a great job, I agree. But that was your number 3?
That was my number 3, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
And we're getting to the top.
my number 3 is, if you don't know the show, you be living under a rock. Like, I feel like all my shows are pretty much, you gotta know these shows. Fruit Basket.
Fruit Basket. Wow.
Don't say it like you, what? Why are you saying it like that?
What do you mean? Cause it just slipped my mind because I haven't seen it, but I know how highly you and others that we know talk about it.
Yes, Fruit Basket is one of those OG animes back in like the early 2000s that was like goated for a reason. Such an interesting premise for what it was doing at its time because one, it's a reverse harem, meaning it's a girl with a bunch of guys.
Hell yeah,
That was
brother.
that was the focus. But like it's not like these guys were all going after her. But then the thing, I think what I was so always intrigued by when I first watched the original Fruit Basket was the fact that they incorporated the 12
Hmm.
zodiac animals into it. And being obviously Chinese, that's like a very big part of my culture. And I think like I think like it's like zodiac is a very big part of the Asian culture in general, right? Like
Hmm.
it's like some like things are interchangeable. Like I think like for in Chinese we say the ox. I think in Vietnam they say the water buffalo. It's
Right,
like it's
yeah.
yeah, it's like interchangeable in some of the characters, but the idea of the premise of the story is still very much the same as to like how the mouse became the first one on the in the zodiac, but the twist is they added a cat into the story.
Every story could use a cat.
Every story could use a cat, but I think what is like what it did so well in telling is the story of a cat, or not the story of a cat, but like they incorporate the cat zodiac into the whole premise. And I think it's such an interesting thing because I know in the Chinese like culture cats are actually looked down upon because they are known to bring misfortune.
Right,
if you
yeah.
if you yeah if you like strongly believe in like this Chinese superstition like my mom does, she would never let me bring home a cat. Like she
Mm.
thinks the cat brings in bad luck. I think the difference is obviously like if you're allowing a stray to come into your house versus like you actually like going out to purchase a cat. I think that's like the two like the main difference between it. But either way, it's like the idea of a cat has always been like a bad luck thing, while the idea of a dog is meant to be good luck.
Hmm. Is that
Um,
like play into the show?
I mean, it kind of does, yeah. Like in the show, like they looked at the cat as like a as a black cloud type of thing. I think another thing that the show does very well on is different types of trauma, because they do a lot of trauma in this show. The whole premise is like this girl, she accidentally pretty much meet this family, right? Who was living out in the middle of the woods kind of thing. They were just living far out, not that close to the city, like that kind of idea, right? And she knows about this family because they're one of the guys that lived there. He is like really popular in her school. That's how she recognized him. And she pretty much was living in a freaking tent site because she lost her mom and she didn't want to be a burden to anybody, so she decided to just live out in a tent and not ask anyone for help. And she worked, like, she went to school and also worked a part-time job at night. She's like pretty much like, I think anybody who watched it would say like she's like the sweetest girl who is like wouldn't even hurt a fly type of girl, but it's like super naive in a way. But like I remember when I first watched the show way back when, I thought like I didn't really like her because I was like, she too naive for my liking and everything like that. But I think like this most recent remake that they did, I like came around to really appreciating her because she looks at her trauma and she's like, it's okay kind of thing. Like she does have to work through it, but she's very much willing to still like put up a very like cheerful like outlook on things. She doesn't bother any of her close friends. She doesn't want to bother her grandpa. She doesn't want to bother her family members. She just wanted to like do things on her own and just try to make it out there for her mom kind of thing, right? But yeah, she meets these people because she accidentally went to their house. And then she discovers that like pretty much if the opposite sex outside of the family hugs them, they turn into their zodiac animals.
Right, okay. No, obviously.
Yeah, no, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Like obviously there are certain like rules as to like why it happens and who it happens to, and pretty much there like it's like pretty much rules to it. But like at first it starts off very very lighthearted because it's like meant to be kind of funny, meant to like be kind of like, ooh, she's gonna be living with them, like is there gonna be like a love thing happening kind of thing. The more it like progressed in story, the more you see how dark it gets, because it really started to reveal like trauma when we meet the guy who was assigned to be the dragon. And then like the girl who was assigned to be the horse is probably like the most outspoken in her trauma. And then it's like everybody was like who was assigned an animal or were like traumatic in some sort of way by the person who they consider as their god. Because in traditional story goes, the god was pretty much holding a banquet and pretty much every animal came and they crossed the river and stuff like that. But then Mouse was the first one to come, so that's why the Mouse was like the first one on the zodiac, and then the odds, and then it goes down like that, right? So pretty much the idea is that there is like a legit god in this story. Like it's a human, right? But then their bond and ties to each other are so deep. They look at this person as God for them, even though everyone else who like look at this person, they're like, it's just a regular person. It was such a interesting show in a sense to talk about trauma and like what abuse looks like, what manipulation looks like, and everything like that. It was such a good show in presenting that. And then there was a reason why I don't say watch the old one, the original version of it, because the original version pretty much cuts out before it got too heavy.
Interesting.
It didn't even proceed through because they do things like, aside from like trauma of like abuse and stuff like that, there was like sexual connotations and things like that. Yeah, it was like very like heavy type of abuse. Like it's pretty traumatic, to say the least. But then this new remake that they made more recently, like pretty much went all the way through and finished it as the manga intended. And I thought like they did such a beautiful job in like doing it. So
you'd rate the remake as number 3, or is it
I
just...
do.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
The remake number 3, not the original.
Not the original. Would the original have made your list, do you think?
I don't think so. I wasn't very adamant about the original because, like I said, they like kind of played down a lot of the stuff that made it like such a good read to begin with. If it was to stay true to the manga, then I probably would have recommended, but it didn't, is the point, right? And I think that this one in particular, this like remake of it, stayed true to the manga all the way to the very end. It did like the whole nitty gritty like dark shit, and like it like made it definitely like hit some like spots in me. I was like, damn, this is like, you know, it hurts to kind of watch in a sense because it's like you get to know these characters who are like always like, you know, showing one face as to who they are, but then like in reality
Yeah.
they like hurt in a certain way and stuff. I think it just spoke volume as to like how you can never judge a person by their cover, how you can never judge a person like unless you know what they really have to deal with. Like it really gave me, I guess this is like the other way of seeing it, is that like a bully is a bully because probably they just don't have a good home life kind of thing, right? You know what I mean? It's like that kind of situation. Like it really makes you think about what a person like is hiding even though they're smiling. I gave the final season, it's 3 seasons, the final season of the remake, a 10 out of 10 pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much says a lot as to like how much I very much appreciate it, and it's one of the few shoujos that I actually like.
Yeah, that's like definitely an underrepresented genre on these lists so far.
It's just not our type of genre in reality. What's
Okay.
yours?
My number 2 is Erased, one of my favorite shows that does time travel correctly, in my opinion. And
Where'd you put Steins again?
5.
You put Race above Steins Gate?
Listen, I told you that I should have put Steins Gate higher. However, this is personal preference. I think Steins Gate might be better, but Erased I like more.
Is it because of the mystery aspect to it?
It's because of the mystery aspect to it, and also, again, the human psyche element to it.
You just want shows with a lot of stake to it. We should
I
just
love
put you.
it. Yes.
What we should just do is just like make you watch a show but put a stake onto it, and then maybe you would just like want to watch a show.
Maybe. Well, because that's why I can't get into Isekai, because it like the stakes are lower.
No, it's
Additional
not. Not
levels
all
of
the
fiction.
time.
Not all the time, but some of the time.
You won't even know because you never watch Isekai.
Well, every Isekai I watch is just like, oh, well, this is a video game now, or like, and it's just like,
No, you're just thinking of Sword Art Online,
well,
but in Sword Art Online they die if they die in it, they die in real life too.
yeah, but like the stakes are like less tangible, I feel, you know, because you're just like, you die in a cartoon way, then you just like wake up and you're not alive. It's not like, you know.
No, that's not Sword Art Online is literally if you die in this game, you die in real life.
Yeah, but don't you just like brain die? Like you don't actually like, you know, they don't come over and like hit you with a sledgehammer or something.
Brain death is still death.
No, I know that they're dead. But it's just like the fact that there's an additional layer of like non-reality to it makes the stakes not as effective for me.
Okay, I know we're diverging a little bit, but like what if the character like is legit transported to the other world, right? So if they literally die in whatever fashion they're dying in that world, and they literally die, like is that more like palatable for you?
A little bit. I guess it like depends. I need to know like where they're transported. Like is it like a place that's real, or is it like a place that's like not real? That's kind of where like that confusion already takes me out of the immersion.
No, if they died in this like fake fantasy world, they died. Like there's nothing more to it.
Yeah, well, the fact that they're in the fake fantasy world just confounds it. Like,
Oh
why?
no, no, I didn't mean like fake, but I mean like this is their reality now. So it's not like
Well,
how
like, where
like,
does it exist in time space?
it's a different like universe. Yeah, it's a different universe if we think of like multiverse kind of situation.
Maybe that would be fine, because that's where it always gets a bit confusing for me. Like, because like if I don't believe in the world, I don't believe in the stakes.
I feel like you're basing this too much on Sword Art Online, which is what it pretty much is.
Well, that was like the quintessential one. Like I watched that, and I watched Excel World, which was even worse.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like the same thing, except they don't die in the video game. They just go in robots, and like the pudgy dude is like now banging all the chicks because like he's the best gamer. It's not good.
I feel like you need to watch the ones where they actually so like Isekai is like looked in two different ways, right? One of them is like the way you see it as Sword Art Online, but honestly, if OGs know dot hack sign was literally the OG,
Yeah,
like
see, I don't know. I
Isekai
don't even know what that is.
is literally like the same idea. You're like say we're like gamers and we like virtually input our like mind into the game itself. So like it's the idea of what you're saying, like if they die, they don't really die. They just die in the game, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like nowadays isekais are more focused on like these people die and they get reincarnated to a different like world. But that doesn't mean that they don't die. If they die
Okay.
there, they, you know, because this is the other world that they're living in
Yeah,
now.
it's just like a different level. Okay, that's a little bit different for me.
Yeah, because it's like how some people believe that once we die, like if they themselves die, they just reincarnate into like a bird or whatever, or you know what I mean.
Right, yeah,
But
bird world.
yeah, but in this sense, it's like they're like transported, like they're reincarnated into a whole different world. There are like some really good isekai that I really think you would like if you just like get over this hump in your head.
Fine, make an isekai list.
I will after this.
Yeah, when
But
you sometime when you're bored, do that.
I already have like a couple of isekais in my mind that I think you will like. But anyways,
All right. Yeah, one more divergence. Speaking about stakes and like games and shit. You know, like remember in the original Yu-Gi-Oh where Kaiba and Yugi were like doing a duel, and like when they would lose life points, they would actually like feel physical pain.
hmm
And then there was one match where Kaiba really didn't want to lose, so he went on a ledge and he's like, "If you beat me, Yugi, I might fall off this ledge and fucking die." It's like that. For some reason, that works.
because I think the whole point was that they weren't exactly transported anywhere, but
No,
like when
yeah,
you're
exactly. Like, they were actually suffering real world consequences. They actually kidnapped Yugi's grandfather.
and ripped up his blue eyes white dragon.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
I mean, okay, I don't disagree in Erase being a good
Yeah, what is your
anime.
problem with Erased?
I thought the ending was just odd as to why they chose to do it that way. I think like from what I remember, like the ending is a little bit different from what the manga ended up
It
being.
is a little bit different, but for some reason, I never understood why people get hung up on it. Like, I
I guess
think it
I
ended
guess
fine enough.
Erase was like good. Like, don't get me wrong, Erase was good though. Like, I do like the whole suspense and the mystery and everything like that, and how he's trying to solve it. I just think like in terms of like the top animation about doing time traveling things, like Steins does it better in terms of like doing like a mystery.
It's different. It's different.
I know it's a different way of doing time traveling. I agree, but like I guess like something about it of not being ever explained to me as to like why he has the time. They never explain why he has the time traveling power, right?
I don't remember, but yeah, I think it's well. That's probably why you don't like it, because it's a
It doesn't
unexplained
explain to me.
mystery.
Yeah, it like doesn't explain to me why he in particular has the time traveling power, and that's why it like kind of like always in my head I was like, so
When
how did he get this?
when some force of nature gives you the chance to change fate, you don't question it.
I kind of do because it's just like there's such thing called karma, and like I want to
Well,
know
maybe
what.
this is karma. Maybe karma's like, hey man, you shouldn't be a pizza delivery man with a dead friend. You should have a chance to make things right.
Yeah, no, this is why XX or holic is such an interesting concept to me because there is a price to pay.
See, I feel like you could argue he already paid the price by living a traumatic childhood, and this is his
But
comeuppance.
why? But then, like, no, it wasn't traumatic for him. He just didn't know where that girl went. That's it. He never experienced as to like what happened to her. And then, but then it wasn't until he started doing the time traveling thing that he
Yeah.
realized what happened to her. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's like there was nothing really particularly traumatic for him. It was just more so like it was like a smudge in his memory about her because he know who she is. But and
Well,
then that
you're
she
also forgetting that in the first episode, his mother gets stabbed to death.
Okay, but yeah, I know his mother gets stabbed to death, but at the same time, it's just kind of like that's not a traumatic childhood. That's a traumatic nowhood.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like kind of like a repressed thing where like, when something happens to like a kid in your school, like it kind of affects everyone. This child disappeared and like, he forgot about it because like that's one of those things like, children can't really like properly like express and understand the ramifications of such a thing, so they just kind of forget about it.
I guess. But I think like my main thing is obviously the fact that they could not explain to me why he
Yeah,
has.
you're getting caught up on the trivialities.
Hey, you get caught up about isekais.
Well, you know my grievances about isekais. I feel like isekais is a rocky foundation. And I guess you can say that for this if you really want to, but I don't agree. Like, again, I feel like it is one of those things that explains or like explores human psychology from an interesting perspective. Because it's an adult brain and a child body experiencing child powerlessness.
I do agree with that.
And that's like,
No.
again, like something I relate to personally. Like, I always kind of resented being a child and not being able to affect things that, like, bad that were happening around me. So I thought it was, like, a really interesting exploration into that with the added mystery of figuring out, like, why this thing is happening, exploring the girl's, like, traumatic, you know, childhood with her, like, shithead parents, not knowing who to trust. It just explored interesting themes in an interesting way, and ending, I guess, not being as satisfying. For me, the ending was fine. It wasn't like a slam dunk ending, but I think it was good. I guess that and the facts that, like, you know, they don't explain. Maybe they do. I don't remember. But for me, like, it just, in my heart, when I think about my favorite animes, it's close to the top. Maybe it would change if I watched Steins Gate again.
Maybe, like, who knows? But I think, like, overall, I don't think, like, Erase is a bad anime to watch. I think, like, all these animes on my list, I feel like I have the least complaints about in some sort of fashion. Like, I'm like, not terribly nitpicky about it for one reason or another, whether it's because, like, they have something that overlooks something that, like they have one type of quality or something like that that can help me overlook it. Whatever flaw they might have. I mean, honestly, I don't think any of the animes I pick in my head has a flaw in some sort of fashion. Like, maybe they are like not ranked as high for one reason or another compared to the other, but that's like more so like on an emotional standpoint as to like why it's not ranked higher. Like, so saying like how Sailor Moon is ranked like in the middle, but then I have Mob Psycho ranked higher than it is because like Sailor Moon has the nostalgia factor to it, but Mob Psycho has like a very good emotional factor to it as to like why it ranks higher for me.
Right.
But that being said, like Erase, like I do agree it's a good anime to watch because one, it's like a really like finished story from beginning to an end, and it does have like that whole suspense and mystery factor to it, along with the idea of time traveling and like you mentioned like the psyche kind of thing. I think like the thing that fell apart for me about Erase as to why it doesn't make it into my particular list is the fact that like it didn't evoke anything for me. You know what I mean? Like I need like an emotional factor. Yeah,
for me,
I feel
that's
like
what elevates it. I feel like, especially in the middle episodes, like it had kind of like a Shakespearean like plot structure where like the middle of it felt like the climax. And I think me looking at it from that different perspective is why it's probably higher for me than a lot of different people. Because for me, the ending is not nearly as important as the middle section.
I mean, I do agree the middle section was really, really well done. I guess like when I think about it, I'm trying to like think about what it just didn't have as a strong invoke or like to me like even Samurai Champloo was like not a very strong hit for me, but there were like certain I think the quality about Samurai Champloo that is the reason why it made it to my list over like something like a Race was like there were very good moments in it that like made me feel some type of way, but also like the art style, the like creativity that it takes to like make an anime that's based on like historical samurais, but then incorporating like hip hop and breakdancing into the fight styles and things like that was very uniquely done. And I think like it tied up a very well like show in a very short amount of episode as well. I think storytelling wise, I like how Samurai Champloo did it, and then I like the animation for Samurai Champloo, and I think like it also had a very good music track to it. I think that's why like everything about like Samurai Champloo, who was on the bottom of my list, stacked against Erase, like made it versus Erase did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, and I don't necessarily think people who don't like Erase are like, I don't think that they're incorrect in thinking that. The notes that it hit very well for me, and it just kind of had a lot of little flavorings that I like, and it overall it just created a very like strong emotional experience for me personally.
I think our top list is where it kind of gets a little more interesting for us because it's like it really kind of shows who we are as like a person kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that these are ending up being so like different.
Yeah. Wait, so that was your number?
That was my number 2, but my number 1 is Fate Zero, which we already talked about. So it's just your number 2 and your number 1 now.
Okay. My number 2 is Violet Evergarden.
Ooh, that's a good one. See, that kind of gives me like similar feelings. Oh, I typed violence instead of violet.
Like it's similar feelings in what type of way?
I guess like I had similar evoked emotions of like my top anime with Violet Evergarden as well.
I like Violet Evergarden from when it first came out, which is what 2018 time, right?
Yeah.
I think it was like coincidentally, I was going through like a bit of a struggle bus, to say the least. It started airing shortly after like my previous relationship, and I think that's also why it's so high up on my list because I just remember it so well and how it made me feel. But like also on top of that, I think like at that time, it was probably the best animation I ever seen.
It was, for sure.
Like for 2018 and having consistently beautiful animation episode after episode after episode, it was like so unheard of because everyone knows like they pull out the big guns for a fight scene. They don't pull out a they don't
writing
pull out
letters.
yeah, they don't pull out the big gun for a girl who is just trying to hop across the lake. No, but they did, and it was like absolutely magical. I was just so blown away by their animation as one. And then like their world building, I won't say it's particularly spectacular in the sense that like they were pretty much basing it off of like almost like old-timey, like with like pretty much like after war kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's not like Violet herself is an actual quote unquote doll. She was an actual human who was like taken as a child to being used as a shield for a very well known like army person, you know?
Yeah,
And I think
child
like
soldier is definitely like a hard hitting topic.
yeah,
Just
and
inherently.
exactly. And I thought like wow, like what a way to do a main character. And I think like because she was like taken as a child and she never understood emotion, it was such a like interesting concept to like look at this person who has no concept of emotion because they were treated one way pretty much their majority of their life. And then now you're asking the person to write a letter that would like pretty much represent the person that you're writing a letter for. Like how do you teach someone like that? How do you teach someone to like understand what it feels to like be in love, what it feels to feel remorse, and when they never felt anything like that? And then all along in this whole thing, she was just trying to understand her previous master's last words.
So this is why I never finished the show, because I did really like it, but like she was trying to figure out the master's last words, which was something like "I love you," right?
Yeah.
So the second I found out she was like 14, I became very uncomfortable with that idea. So can you just give me a spoiler if like there is that a creepiness factor involved here?
Well, I think you have to take into consideration that Japanese like culture, the legal age is not the same as the US for one. I
Isn't
think
he like the dude's like old though.
I don't think he's that much older than her though. Wait, how old was she?
She was 14.
To be fair, he did save her, but you know, whatever, you know, just saying. I don't know what age she was. I didn't remember. I just remember she was young and she was saved, but not really saved by.
Yeah, well, they only mention it like in episode 6 or something. So like, you know, because obviously like it's Japanese ages, because like she looks like she's like at least 18.
In the anime, it is estimated that Violet is 14 based on what she reveals to Queen Charlotte in the 5th episode.
Yeah.
On the contrary, Gilbert is believed to be 29 years old.
Well,
so 15.
There you go.
Different.
There you go. Not to try to ruin your thing, but I'm just saying that's why I stopped watching.
I mean, I get it. At some point, I get it because it's like it's not everybody's like cup of tea to understand, like to be not understanding, that's not the right word, but like, it's just not everyone's cup of tea to like know the age of something like this, right? But like,
They're the ones who told me.
oh yeah, in the show.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't have an issue until they said it explicitly.
I think for me, I feel like I guess I'm so like desensitized by what they do in Japan.
No, that was I think that yeah, that's a like culture shock thing.
Because uh Sailor Moon was pretty much 13, and then Tuxedo Mask was a college student.
Why? Why is everyone living in sin?
And then in Card Captor Sakura, literally one of the students ended up marrying the teacher.
Uh, okay, whatever.
I guess that's why I'm so like, all right, I guess this is happening, and I can't judge them because this is their culture.
I'll do it.
But I think like for me, I cannot fault the animation studio for making it because they're making it from a manga. So it was the mangaka's choice to make
Yeah, and
whatever.
he's the one I'm blaming.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, yeah, if you headcanon that away, like,
I think like the fact that she was so young, I think it also add a little bit to like trying to understand why she never understood like a lot of emotions because she was so
right.
young when she was in this war, when she was like, captive and everything like that. And then moving forward from there is like when she tries to understand emotions. I think like at that time what I was going through is trying to understand my own emotions too,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, she was trying to understand what the words I love you means, and I was trying to understand like, I guess for me, I was trying to understand why I had like a hard time saying it and meaning it at the same time, and not just saying it as like a way to like just say it back to
Yeah.
somebody. So that's why it kind of meant a lot to me when I was watching it, because it definitely helped. Like, not only is the animation beautiful, but like the underlying theme of things of like trying to understand how people put like their emotions into words and express themselves. I felt like it's such a beautiful thing. They had like such great moments of like when they write these letters, and it was like so beautifully like literature wise written, I think, in my opinion, that
Mm-hmm.
I was like completely blown away by like the art of it all, like the art of like storytelling, the art of like their animation, the art of like the literature itself was like so beautiful. And I think like pretty much from the beginning to the very end, because it does end, and it ends with the movie, and it ends with her finding out that he's alive.
Oh, surprise.
Pretty much. And she does go find him, and I think like we can always take it in different ways, right? Like we can take it as if like he might have meant it romantically, or he might have taken it as like a different tone. Like I think like it's hard to tell, because like that moment in time when you see her flashback and he tells her that he loves her, like
Oh, is
we
it not conclusive?
I think they pivoted towards romantically, but I kind of like think like there's such a fine line between loving someone romantically and then loving them as a person
Sure.
in a non-romantic way. You know what I mean? In my head, I guess if it was a romantic type of love, then like, I feel like he would have definitely went out to find her and saw her out and everything like that. But it wasn't like that, you know what I mean? And I think like
Hmm.
he built himself a whole different life, a whole new life kind of thing. He was very endearing to her and like daughter her, but like I guess for me it was just kind of like the way the animation made me feel. It never felt romantic towards for me. That's why that was another reason why I guess I didn't take it like that. It's because like I understand like love in different forms can always be a possibility, and it never is meant to be romantic unless like there is that like very clear intent for it to be romantic. And that's why I was
Hmm.
like, he says I love you, but then you can say I love you to like your family, your friends, like people who like mean something in your life.
Yeah.
And I think like he literally thought he was gonna die, and he said that because he probably knows that she can't understand emotions. but he wanted to show her like one last good gesture that he can give to her
Yeah, the
because
most
she lives.
profound of emotions.
Yeah, because I think love is like everyone always thinks love has to be romantic in a way, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, right? It's like,
No.
yeah, and I think like that's why it's like I guess it's up to a person's judgment whether they when they watch this if it's meant to be romantic or not. But I guess for me, I'm just kind of like I think I can argue my way and saying that it's not romantic. I think I
It's
can, but I think like more people are gonna headcanon it as romantic anyway.
they should do something else.
I
Like that literally changes my entire opinion of the show.
mean, I guess you can like watch it for yourself and see if it's worth it. I think for me, it was just like the fact that it's not a romance between the main character and someone else, but it's just like her just trying to understand her emotions and stuff. I think it's different. I'm like trying to remember the movie, but I can't really remember the movie. But I just know that in the movie that he does like she does end up finding him. So I might be completely like fucking gaslighting myself right now as to what the actual like
Well,
show ended up being. But hear me out. Like even if this is like meant to be a romance thing between the two of them, I still don't hate it because like let's be real now, there's fucking people who are like 50 years in age gap and they fuck each other for one reason or another. And honestly, at this point, this is just a freaking anime. That's how I see it.
all
I know
right.
I'm being very like whatever about this,
Thank
but
you,
like
Mr. DiCaprio. That was a very
shut
good
up.
answer.
Shut up.
I mean, I'll look into it myself, but like I think everything else you said is like incredibly valid. Like I very much enjoyed my time up to that point watching it, especially at the time my sensibility for that sort of thing was just super strong. So I was just like, nope, nope, nope. I'm not trying to watch that shit right now.
I get it.
But no, I respect that pick.
And then my number one pick is I feel like I told you about this anime all the time too. And it also just recently ended not that long ago.
Vinland Saga's not over, right?
No, Vinland Saga is definitely not over.
Shoot. Oh, what is it?
Oh, you want a hint?
Yeah, give me a hint.
Comedy.
Gintama?
Yes.
That's it
Gintama.
ended?
It ended. It literally ended recently.
Oh wow, I thought that's news to me. That's awesome.
I think Gintama is like one of those shows that I'm like very in love with, but I don't think a lot of people probably heard about it and like in passing or whatever. But I'm like so in love with Gintama because it's got so much funny ass moments, but then it has this like serious actual plot. Like it's got its main plot. And it's got a bunch of branch plots, like subplots that happen throughout the entire like series. And I don't hate it because I'm like, yo, you guys keep it funny, but then you guys make it serious when it's like meant to be serious. And I think like the most funny part about it is that it has that running joke about like, hey, we're ending this anime series now, and it doesn't fucking end because they come back again later. And everyone's thinking like, yo, is this gonna be the end? Is this actually the end?
So
And then like, yeah, it was such a troll anime, and I fucking loved it. I love how they always make fun of other animes too. And then they do like the stupidest gag jokes all the fucking time, and I just there's like something about Gintama that no other anime ever like peak like that. I guess is like I can't think of any other anime that does what Gintama does, which is like having such a serious plot line, but then having such like stupid funny like shit on the sides of it.
Yeah, it's a hard balance, but yeah, Gintama's one of the masters.
It is, and I'm like so sad. I mean, I'm not sad that it ended because I feel like wow, it ended.
I'm shocked.
I know, it's like such a like wow, it was such a journey to even like watch and like get through and get to where we are. And then like I thought like how they chose to like end it was very good because it stayed true to its serious plot line, like the serious main plot line that it was trying to do. It stayed true to it. And I think like if we want to talk about like there's always like these three characters that were always like kind of sort of circling around each other in Gintama. so they three of them, pretty much the three characters, right? Is one of them is Gintama. They were all
Right.
like a student to one this guy who was their master, who was a swordsman master, right? He's pretty much a fucking alien to say the least. Anyways, but like
Okay.
my point is like he taught them like everything they learned in terms of like what it means to be a samurai and all these things like that, right? And then something happens, their master died, and it was kind of sort of unjustly. So the three students themselves took upon their master's like wish of what he wished for, and they all took it into three different routes. Pretty much they pretty much found their own justice in their own ways, kind of thing. And I thought
Mhm.
that was like such an interesting like take to it. You know, you can either go seek revenge or you seek like justice in like a more formal way, or like, you know, you just don't do anything about it.
Sure, that's another way.
Yeah, I think like they just chose to form their own like ideology of what they were taught, and then they just ran with it for what they thought was like what was right in their head. And I thought
Hmm.
that was such a good way in like the serious plot line. I thought it was like such a good way of like talking about uncovering a lot of the backstories of like why they who they are, who is their masters, like, and who is like the main pretty much the main villain in the entire story arc. And then still have like their stupid moments. There was like a really funny one. For some reason, they went into the underworld and then they had to like go through a bunch of different competition. And the guy with the glasses had to like eat this like disgusting bug looking like thing. And like it has a face too. It has like a very like old grandpa looky like face,
Oh
and he
my
has to eat
god.
it. And it was like, you know, it's as big as his face, and then like he jumped, and then like he had to eat it, and then I think he jumped, but he accidentally kisses the bug, and then suddenly all of a sudden they like have like an interaction where he imagines that bug thing as a female, and then they have like this like weird like romance thing happening,
Oh
and
my
then
god.
it was just so funny. It was like so stupid but so funny. I
God.
think that was like one of the most funniest thing I ever watched. There was like another one where he same thing with the glasses guy. He was like he's just a fucking simp for like I think certain. There was like one girl he was a simp for, and I think the girl thought she had him in the palm of her hand and stuff. But then like he turned around and like beat the shit out.
Oh my god.
Not beat the shit out of her, but I think he like kicked her or something. He's like, I would never be like a true fan of you or something like that. It was
Oh
just like,
shit.
and then there was like this other one where they were like, it was almost, I think they were like doing like a hide and seek thing with like the freaking police people, and then they all ended up having to take a shit, but they didn't have toilet paper, and then I think it was sandpaper.
Oh my god.
It was like these are like very funny but vague memories I have of Gintama, because obviously Gintama came out over a long period of time. But they just have like such funny moments, or like the one where they did a crossover between Dragon Ball, One
Oh
Piece,
my
Bleach.
god. That was so legendary.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's top because like for you, it checks out a lot of my boxes. It has the comedy, but it has a serious plot line. As
Hmm.
like characters who has like character development and growth in their own way. Even though they act stupid still, they still continue their like own character development as to who they are and everything. I thought it was such a great way of storytelling where you have, you know, a bunch of subplots, but then that all makes sense anyway. It's just the cast of characters are really great, dude.
Yeah, every time you talk to me about Gintama, I'm like, oh, I'm always like, I'm always convinced that you're right for having it be one of your favorite shows. Like, the little bit I've seen of it, because I did try to watch it a little bit. Like,
Mm.
like even the early parts, like I enjoyed a lot. Like, it has like, as you said, the plot that's interesting enough, but then like, yeah, the characters are just so ridiculous that like it just forms a really like nice blend of like natural comedy. It's
Yeah,
just not contrived. It doesn't feel like, someone wrote this comedy. It feels like the characters are actually just ridiculous people doing sometimes ridiculous stuff, sometimes serious stuff.
yeah, and I think it's funny that they said the mangaka is a gorilla.
But what?
They like literally the mangaka wrote that he is pretty much a gorilla, and they call him a gorilla in the
Oh my
fucking
god. The
anime.
meta shit. Oh.
They're so meta because they break a lot of fourth walls a lot of time. I think like there was one time they literally called out a production company for like canceling
Oh
them
my
and then got
god.
picked up another company.
Some like Futurama shit.
It was literally like Futurama of like Japanese animation, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an anime for anime fans.
I think it has to be because they do reference a lot of like other animes and their stuff.
Yeah, so someone
And
who's like really well versed in anime like you, like I feel like would like really appreciates like all the nuance it has and
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like you have to know like a lot of anime. I think it does just do pretty much mainstream anime.
yeah, good list.
Thanks. I know. I mean, it took us a while just to get through just our like top finish list.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna have to do the other list another day because I'm sleepy as heck. But no, I actually think I end up liking your list more than mine in a sense. Like,
Hi.
I guess because like I'm already me, so my list isn't really news to me. But your list is like more interesting to me.
Oh, I think your list has like good stuff too. Don't
Mhm.
like I think it's just a matter of like taste in terms of like what people like.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on your list that I'm like, I really want to try. Like, Odd Taxi, Mob Psycho. Maybe I'll turn a blind eye and watch Violet Evergarden. Like,
I guess you can make that judgment as to like what you think.
yeah. Yeah, overall, pretty happy with these.
I think so. Like I might feel like maybe one day I'm gonna be like, maybe I want to switch up my list a little bit in terms of order and stuff, because that's kind of how I felt like all the
Mhm.
time when I was looking at it, and I had to like stop looking at it pretty much.
Yeah, I think the list that we're gonna do next time, like just the overall top list for me, has been a lot more like static. The top 3 has pretty much been set in stone for years now.
For years, okay.
Essentially, or like for a while at least. I'm pretty decisive with that sort of thing. Yeah,
Good.
for these, this was a bit of like an interesting process making it. I'm not even like the biggest Attack on Titan or Death Note fan. But it's just there's there's not enough complete animes that I've seen that really like had an impact on me,
I think you just need to watch more shorter animes too.
Yeah, well, One Piece kind of like consumed my life for the past couple of years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know when the last time probably Shiki is the last complete anime I've watched.
I mean, with this season, there's like a good couple of them that you can probably pick up and watch really quickly.
That's good because winter sucks.
We'll see what spring holds. I mean, if not, then there's plenty of other animes that you can always pick up because there's no way I feel like a person can really devote that much time to watch all the animes in the world. Or yeah,
No, I mean you're trying.
my time I think is 180 something hours in terms of how much anime I watch.
That
So
seems
it's not even a
surprisingly
year.
low.
I know, right?
Like I feel like there's some error in the system.
I think no, maybe I don't know, like
I think no.
because I think like I don't know. I don't update that I watch like One Piece or onto their thing because I just say if I complete it or not, and then they calculate how much hours that is.
Oh, okay. So yeah, no, you've definitely spent like I'm gonna guess 6 months of your life watching anime. That's my guess.
I'm there's more to life than anime, but who am I to say that? Who am I to say that?
I mean, hey, I always tell you I'm jealous of your ability to consume things. Like I cannot.
Just 2 times speed.
Yeah, I can't really do that. And like I got into the game late too, so I'm playing catch up.
Just watch mainstream stuff if you guys haven't watched it, and that's all you really need.
Or just watch shit that sounds good to you, and as long as people don't say it's complete trash.
But what if they want to watch complete trash?
Well then they don't have to talk to me. No, I have a friend who actually actively watches trash just as like a kind of guilty pleasure type of thing.
I mean, I guess.
It's not me.
We all have our...
I ain't got enough time for that. I'm gonna die
That's
one
true.
day.
Oh my gosh. Let's not go there.
I want to have a top 50 list before I die.
No, maybe not top 50. maybe not.
Top 20?
I think top 20 can work because I feel like top 50 is just a lot.
I guess I want to
to,
have
like,
50
think through.
anime that I like at least.
Yeah, let's get there first.
Okay. To be continued with the next list, which is unlimited, and we'll have movies, ongoing stuff. So, might see a couple of things from here, and you'll definitely see a lot of different things. Until next time, bye bye.